Chapter 2546. Ning Shu sized him up carefully. He couldn't tell if he was a soul or a cultivator. Do you use soul fluid? The man shook his head. I don't use it. It's against the harmony of the world. Ning Shu. He was ashamed of his own shamelessness. After doing such a thing, did he think that he wouldn't harm the harmony of the world just because he didn't use soul fluid? Did he think that his conscience would be at ease just because he didn't use soul fluid? Ning Shu was almost amused by this idiot's self-deceiving act. When it came to shamelessness, there was always a taller mountain. City Lord, this woman wants to steal our soul fluid, destroy our city, and kill our people. If we don't exterminate her, there will be no end of trouble in the future. Everyone said one after another, almost bursting into tears. You're a soul. Even if you need soul fluid, you shouldn't destroy the city. If you destroy the city, the people outside the city will be pitiful. They won't even have a place to live. The man shook his head in disapproval. Ning Shu felt that if he continued to chat with this man, he would probably be able to get along well. It wasn't like he was shooting his mouth off. He was just chatting like Tang Sanzang, rambling on and on. I'm willing. These people will only be enslaved if they stay in the city, Ning Shu said. The man shook his head. You're wrong. These people have no strength. No matter where they go, they will be kept in captivity. Why are you so bad? It's not good to let these people live a peaceful and happy life. As for their souls after death, it's actually not important. Ning Shu, don't try to convince me. I'm bad. Ning Shu pointed at his own nose. Why aren't you bad? Do you know the price of freedom when you give these people freedom? The outside world is so dangerous. You let them face it alone. Aren't you bad? The man stood on the back of the vermilion bird. He looked as calm as an immortal, but he kept nagging. The immortal aura was completely gone. Ning Shu, do you think you're right? Whether I'm right or not is one thing. But have you thought about whether these people really want the freedom you give them? The man nagged. I don't care about their opinions at all. You're wrong again. You destroyed their homes without permission and deprived them of their hope of living a peaceful life. You don't even care about their opinions. You're a bad person. Ning Shu was speechless. What the fuck, was she bad? Ning Shu sneered. So, you care a lot about what these people think. Of course I don't mind, but these people live in the city, the man said. Ning Shu clutched his chest, feeling agitated. He felt like he was going to vomit blood. It was simply a waste of time to talk nonsense with him. I still have to do a mission. Everyone was speechless. Seeing the city lord chatting so enthusiastically with this woman, they wondered if the city lord was too lonely. Why was he chatting with someone like this? Was he going to discuss the Tao? Ning Shu went straight to the point. So, what do you mean? Just say it. If you leave now, I won't bother with you, the man said. What if I don't? Ning Shu asked. Then I'll make you leave willingly. The man sighed. I hate fighting the most. As the man spoke, bolts of lightning exploded from his body. These bolts of lightning were very thick, and they struck the vines and split them in half. The entire city was shrouded in dark clouds. Dense lightning bolts struck down from the clouds, striking the vines. The heavens have opened their eyes and sent down heavenly punishment. The citizens outside the city cheered. As long as the demons were beaten back, they could rebuild their homes and start a new life. The vines covering the city were split into pieces by the lightning and lost their ability to fight. Although the wood element had a restorative effect, there were many things that countered it. Anything with the element of destruction, such as destruction laws, fire, and lightning, was very effective against it. Ning Shu put away the vines. The city was already destroyed anyway, so there was no need for him to do anything. Ning Shu held the burning wood law imprint and looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. He then looked at the man standing on the vermilion bird's back. The ability to summon heavenly lightning and lightning was a force of nature, and this bastard could actually control it. Furthermore, lightning was very effective against spiritual bodies. This man was not a spiritual body. He had a physical body. The appearance of this man gave the citizens of the city a lot of courage. He looked at Ning Shu and Yi Lin with killing intent and smugness in his eyes. On the other hand, the man put away the lightning. Without the dark clouds covering the sky lit up. Yi Lin's face darkened. He might not be able to leave today. Sigh, following such a bad master was really frustrating. Yi Lin said to Ning Shu, "Master, you go first." Ning Shu asked calmly, "What about you?" "I have a way to escape." Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. "What can you do? Tell me." Yi Lin. He didn't know if he should say something like that. In any case, he had already gotten his revenge, so he was satisfied. He said to Ning Shu, "Master, is it true that you can take my soul away?" Ning Shu, "It's pretty much true. Please have a reliable master." The man stood on the vermilion bird's back. His robes fluttered as he said to Ning Shu, "Are you going to leave or not?" Ning Shu suddenly asked, "How do you possess the power of lightning?" "Jealousy makes me ugly." If she wanted to comprehend the laws of lightning, the power of those laws would be enough to destroy her soul. "I was lucky enough to refine a tribulation cloud during my tribulation transcendence," the man said casually. However, all the cultivators present were shocked. That cultivator had to sacrifice half of his life during his tribulation transcendence. He had to use all kinds of spirit tools to resist the tribulation lightning, but this bastard had actually refined a tribulation cloud. So jealous. Ye Lin's face turned from waxy yellow to ghastly pale. However, Ning Shu felt that ghastly pale looked better than waxy yellow. Ning Shu said, "Don't tell me you only know how to release lightning?" The man nodded and said, "I think so. My most powerful power is lightning." However, tribulation clouds are divided into several types. There are black, purple, and 9 heavens divine thunder. Ning Shu. Everyone present trembled. Purple tribulation lightning was very rare. When 9 heavens divine thunder struck down, there would be nothing left of it. Their souls would be destroyed. Yi Lin. It seemed that he had really kicked an iron plate this time. Yi Lin could only sigh in his heart. He touched the earthworm-like bug hiding in his clothes. His life hadn't even started yet, but he had followed an unreliable master and ended up losing his life. It would have been better for him to hide in the dark from the beginning and come out to ride the waves when he was strong enough. Ning Shu rubbed his chin and looked back and forth between the man in white and Yi Lin. He said to Yi Lin, "You go." Yi Lin. If you can't beat him, what's the point of letting me go? Yi Lin really despaired of this cheap master. Chapter 2547. Ning Shu always felt that this white-robed man had the intention of punishing on behalf of the heavens. Simply put, he was the son of the heavens, the male lead. No one could refine the tribulation cloud, but this guy actually did it. A new generation of people saved people. When these two people were together, the white-robed man represented the past of an era. At that time, he had invented this method. Perhaps it was the best way to collect souls, unlike the first level where the cycle repeated and the souls became more and more poisonous. Yi Lin represented the beginning of a new era. Now, this model was about to be overturned. He just did not know if the tribulation cloud would strike Yi Lin. The white-robed man seemed to be a little impatient with Ning Shu's stubbornness. Everyone has a hard time cultivating, especially you who are still a soul body. It is already very lucky that you did not turn into soul fluid. What are you still unhappy about? This is my disciple. You can compete with him. One was the eldest son, the other was the youngest. What would the result be if these two people fought? The white-robed man looked at the blushing Yi Lin and frowned. He's too weak. You might still have the strength to fight. Yi Lin's face turned even redder. He was angry, but he could not refute this man. Ning Shu let out a long sigh and said helplessly, "Then give me all the soul fluid and destroy the array formation." You are wrong again. One of the array was destroyed. As long as I am here, this array can be created many more. The man shook his head. Ning Shu smiled slightly. Be careful of being struck by lightning. The world is changing at any time. If you insist on setting up this array, you have to be careful. Your tribulation cloud can strike you at any time. Ning Shu somewhat understood the meaning of Yi Lin's birth. Not only did he want to overturn this model, he also wanted to destroy this man. Because of this man's ability, He could turn this world into a captive system at any time. In the past, he was a meritorious service. Now, he had become a virus-like existence. He was an existence that needed to be formatted. Sometimes, the heavens were cold, heartless, and unreasonable. Previously, you were a favored existence. Perhaps it would not be long before you were ruthless. Unless this man wanted to enter the world above, it didn't matter if he wasn't in this world. After figuring this out, Ning Shu grabbed Yi Lin's collar and pulled him behind him. He smiled and said to the man in white, "Okay, I'll give you face today. I'm leaving." The man in white was stunned for a moment, but he still nodded. "Since you've left, I hope you won't disturb my city." Ning Shu chuckled. "I'm also warning you. It's best if you don't do soul confinement again. Be careful that your tribulation clouds don't go out of control." The white-robed man frowned. He could feel that the tribulation clouds were getting out of his control, but he couldn't give up on this kind of power. Ning Shu grabbed Yi Lin and flew far away, disappearing from the horizon. "City Lord, how can we let them go? You don't know how arrogant they are." "That's right. The city has already been destroyed to such an extent. Letting them go just like that would be letting them off too easily." The man said indifferently, "Then what do you want?" "Of course we'll kill them as a warning to others." The man in white ignored these people's endless complaints and stood on the back of the vermilion bird. The vermilion bird flapped its wings and flew away, leaving the group of people dumbfounded. Wasn't the city lord going to stay and preside over the situation? Was he going to leave just like that? Yi Lin was full of wind and finally stopped. He landed on the ground and coughed twice, coughing out the air in his lungs. "That's a gorgeous split line. Please note that after reading for a long time, please pay attention to the rest of your eyes." Recommended reading. "That's a gorgeous split line. Yi Lin sat on the ground dispiritedly. He looked at Ning Shu and sighed. "Master, what's wrong with you?" One moment, he pushed him out to fight with the person holding the heavenly thunder. The next moment, he pulled him and ran away. "This was crazy." Ning Shu said, "Oh, I've figured out some things in my heart. I need time to verify them." Ning Shu felt that even if this model was overturned now, it was impossible to completely become a world of free souls in a short period of time. There must be people secretly refining souls. Yi Lin's role was to defend the model of free souls and fight against these people who refine souls. Yi Lin had not grown up yet. Although he had some strength now, he was not very strong. If he died midway, then the heavenly Tao would have to choose a new suitable candidate. This would take a lot of time. Therefore, Ning Shu still felt that it was better not to bring Yi Lin to dangerous places. Ning Shu felt that he had also been schemed against by the heavenly Tao. She had destroyed these cities violently, and Yi Lin had consolidated the situation. Of course, it might not be a scheme, because there was the soul fluid she wanted in the cities. For the soul fluid, she had also destroyed this model of confining souls. Yi Lin's hair stood on end when his cheap master sized him up with a penetrating gaze. That kind of gaze that was full of calculation was really uncomfortable. Yi Lin swallowed and asked, "Master, if you have something to say, just say it. Even if you want disciple to do something, as long as it doesn't go against disciple's wishes, disciple is willing to help you achieve it. If you want to help me complete it, wait a little longer." Ning Shu waved his hand and sat down to rest for a while before attacking the other cities. Yi Lin leaned closer to Ning Shu and asked, "Master, can I ask you something?" "Yes, go ahead. What are you doing all this for?" "To build the harmonious association." "Master, there are only the two of us here. Can you tell me what your goal is?" Ning Shu propped up his chin and blinked. "A world of free souls." Yi Lin, speak human language. "What do you mean?" Ning Shu said, "Live, grow old, get sick, and die freely. Then the souls will go where they should go and reincarnate again and again." Yi Lin was confused. "I don't quite understand. Does Master want to gather souls? If I want to gather souls, will you help me?" Ning Shu turned to ask Yi Lin. Yi Lin moved to the side. "Master, I'm weak. I'm afraid I can't help Master. There's a world full of souls. If these souls want to start a new life, they need to jump into a place called the reincarnation pool. Then they will start a new reincarnation cycle. From a fetus to a baby, then to a teenager, middle age, old age, and finally death. Lin was a little puzzled. Then will they still remember the past? No, they will be a completely new person. But with souls trapped like this, they can't go to that world and have no chance to start anew. So do you understand now? Ning Shu looked at Lin. Lin. But Master, you're also collecting soul fluid. Are you stupid? Those souls that have turned into soul fluid have no chance of reincarnation. Why don't you collect them? To Ning Shu, souls that had turned into soul fluid were no different from soul stones. Then what is your identity, Master? Lin looked at Ning Shu seriously and asked. Chapter 2548. My identity? You can call me Comrade Lei Feng, Ning Shu said. I'm Comrade Lei Feng, who serves the people. Lin was speechless. He didn't want to tell him. Lin kept guessing in his heart. He asked, Master, you're not from this world, right? Ning Shu nodded, tacitly agreeing. Are you from hell? Ning Shu glanced at Lin. It's there. Lin finally breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He thought that his master had destroyed these cities to build a bigger one and keep everyone in captivity. Since there was no conflict, it was fine. Rest well. Let's go to the next place. Where are we going? Lin asked. To find soul fluid, of course. Where else would we go? Lin suddenly felt a headache. Didn't we destroy one already? Master, I think we should pause for a while. Why should we pause? If these people hide the soul fluid and use it all, I won't be able to get anything. I'll feel bad. Ning Shu said as he picked up Lin and headed to the next city. Lin mumbled, Didn't we run into someone before? What if we run into someone so powerful again? Impossible. Besides, it's not like I can't beat him. Lin, but you ran away with your tail between your legs. Of course, Lin didn't dare to say this out loud. He resigned himself to his fate and followed her. With his strength, he would only be a burden. When they reached the next city, Ning Shu didn't say anything and covered the entire city with vines. In order to prevent the people in the city from hiding the soul fluid, the vines went very deep. In any case, wherever Ning Shu went, there were screams and screams. It was like hell on earth. Lin face-bombed. He didn't feel so good. Everyone was cursing his master, but this guy seemed to be deaf and couldn't hear a thing. The city's people rushed over, but before they could say anything, Ning Shu had already killed the city lord and said that if anyone dared to raise souls in captivity, she would immediately kill them. After killing the man, Ning Shu went to the palace to look for soul fluid. As expected, there wasn't much left. This made Ning Shu very unhappy. With a sullen face, he collected the soul fluid in the pool. Master, why don't you go to a shop and look for some soul fluid? Some shops also have soul fluid. Ning Shu said, We knew that these people would hide the soul fluid. Ning Shu walked around the city. Every time he passed a place, he would scan it with his spiritual force to see if there was any soul fluid. Some shops only had a little bit of soul fluid, but it wasn't a lot. He always felt that these shops had transferred the soul fluid in advance. Ning Shu snapped his fingers, and the vines spread out and destroyed the entire city. The commoners outside the city cried in despair. Without a home, where should they go to survive? As for the survival of these people, Ning Shu wasn't worried at all because humans were a race with strong adaptability. Now that they had no place to live, they could quickly build a new place to live. Moreover, they were free. They didn't need to be trapped in such a huge city. Ning Shu didn't stop and rushed to the next city. This was the last city and the only city left. However, the people in this city seemed to have run away. It was about to become an empty city. There was probably even less soul fluid. He destroyed the city while he was at it. The powerful people in this city had all run away. There was no soul fluid in the pool. Except for some shops in the city that had a small amount of soul fluid, Ning Shu could be said to have no harvest. He took the soul fluid and ran away. Sure enough, he came back from a mission with so little harvest. If he came back from another mission, there would be nothing left. Ning Shu's face darkened. She had collected almost all the soul fluid in this world. She didn't know about some people's private stashes of soul fluid. Therefore, this world was almost finished again. However, Ning Shu felt that she hadn't collected much soul fluid. Therefore, Ning Shu decided to make a comeback. There was still one city that she hadn't robbed yet. If the man in white hadn't appeared, she would have already plundered that city clean. Yi Lin, Master, why did we come back? Yi Lin saw that they had returned to the city from before. I still have soul fluid to take. Without it, I feel uncomfortable all over. Ning Shu went straight to the palace. The barrier of the palace had already been broken. Before anyone could react, they watched her take away all the soul fluid in the pool. Damn, they had never seen such a shameless person. She had already left, but she still came back. However, the city lord had already left. No one here was her match. She took the soul fluid and destroyed the array to purify the soul. Everything was done. Only then did Ning Shu feel a little better. Then, these people watched as the two of them left. Yi Lin didn't care about the soul fluid. However, seeing his master rushing back and forth for the soul fluid, he didn't look like an expert at all. Do you like soul fluid that much? Yi Lin asked. Of course. I suspect that some people in some cities ran away in advance. They probably moved to another place and continued to refine the cities. As for the reason, it's to avoid me. Ning Shu's face was cold. Although all the cities were destroyed, this captive mode wouldn't disappear for a while. It was even possible to refine soul fluid in a village or a town. Yi Lin said, as long as there are benefits, as long as it can make cultivators stronger, this mode can't be stopped. It will take a long time for it to disappear completely. If you like, I can help you collect soul fluid. Conveniently, this kind of thing would disappear. Ning Shu said without hesitation, okay, but don't absorb this kind of soul fluid. You can't absorb it because it's not pure. Then will you absorb it? You won't just collect it and put it there to look good. In short, this person had a lot of secrets. He was very mysterious. Even if he revealed a little of his origin, it was still vague. Ning Shu warned Yi Lin, don't refine soul fluid. I won't. That's not necessarily true. I definitely won't. I guarantee it with my character. If he did this kind of thing, how could his dead parents bear it? For his disciple, he couldn't discourage him. He should encourage him. I still believe in your character. You're very good. Yi Lin, you obviously don't believe in me. Then I'm leaving. He had wasted a lot of time here. I'll leave the earthworm to you. This kind of thing is very good at dealing with souls. Some powerful souls might not necessarily go to the world of samsara. And in a short time, the two worlds hadn't been well adjusted. He wanted to go to the third level. It was good. The third level was Zhe Yang's world. The earthworm arched out of Yi Lin's collar and asked, am I useless to you? Are you afraid that I'll eat your soul stone, so you abandoned me? /BK. Chapter 2550. Tian replied, no, I don't have anything you said. Ning Shu asked, what kind of business are you doing? Why don't you have anything? Tian was speechless. The things he wanted were rare, yet he blamed others for not having them. If these things were so common, they wouldn't be precious. It seemed that Tian really didn't have anything. Who should he buy it from? The exchange store wouldn't have such an awesome thing. If it did, the price would definitely be shocking. Tian asked Ning Shu if he had any soul power or soul origin to sell. He would definitely sell it at a high price. Ning Shu was also very conflicted. If he sold it, there would be less of it. It wouldn't be easy to find it again. Therefore, Ning Shu still felt that she would rather eat dirt than sell soul power in the future. At least, she wouldn't sell it if she didn't need money now. Ning Shu rejected Tian's suggestion. Tian reluctantly said that if she wanted to sell it, she could look for him. She felt that Tian knew that she had something in her hands. Not getting what she wanted, Ning Shu turned off the chat system and went offline. She would rather wait for something good than casually create a world carrier to build a world. The chat system dinged. Ning Shu opened the system and saw that it was a system message inviting her into the group. Ning Shu refused to join the group. With the Law Incarnation group, Ning Shu felt that she might be an unsociable person, so she didn't want to join. Ning Shu rejected it directly. She liked to be a lone ranger. Not long after he clicked reject, another ding-dong sounded. It was another system message inviting her into the group. There was also a sentence. This is the last time. If you don't want to join, then leave. Ning Shu was speechless. You have such a bad temper even if you want to add me. Ning Shu rejected it in her heart, but her body honestly clicked agree. After entering the group, Ning Shu first secretly observed what was in this chat group. She almost peed her pants when she saw it. All of them were big shots, His Excellency, and he, senior uncle, and some she didn't know. There were a total of 400 to 500 people. She guessed that the silver-haired man was among them, but she didn't know his name. Little Invisible was a little terrified. What kind of situation was this? Could it be that she had successfully infiltrated the inner circle? Was it possible to find out how the main system purified soul energy? The chat group was dead silent. No one spoke. Ning Shu checked the chat history and found that these people rarely spoke. Someone even asked what color the wool should be used to knit a sweater. Someone even took a selfie, and it was a funny selfie, the kind that was unrecognizable. Ning Shu was speechless. She must have gone to the wrong place. She wanted to leave the group. Ning Shu felt that he had spent a lot of money in vain, especially on the silver-haired man. Not long ago, he had spent a lot of money to get the contact information of these big shots from the silver-haired man. In the end, he was now dragged into the group. Ning Shu. After entering the group, not a single person spoke. Ning Shu felt as if he was walking through a mass grave. There was not a single living person. Send a red packet to warn the group. After using up his merit points, he could send a red packet with the power of faith. Could he send a red packet with points? Ning Shu was a little nervous and asked 2333, "Can I send a red packet with points?" 2333, What did you say? What red packet? Ning Shu, after a while, 2333 said, "Up to you." He was hoping that 2333 could give him some advice. Ning Shu thought about it and decided to send a red packet with 5,000 power of faith. As soon as the red packet was sent out, Ning Shu planned to snatch one. However, the red packets were all snatched. The king of luck was still senior uncle. Ning Shu. Ning Shu clicked on the red packet and found that His Excellency and many people had snatched red packets. He couldn't imagine the scene of these big shots grabbing red packets with their legs crossed. His hand speed had been lonely for 10,000 years. He didn't even let go of such a small red packet. With the red packets, the group became a little more lively. Some people asked Ning Shu what kind of world he had built. Ning Shu said that he had built a world like the world of reincarnation. They were all big shots. If he was humble, they wouldn't pay attention to him. When they heard that Ning Shu said it was the world of reincarnation, some people's attitude towards Ning Shu became more enthusiastic. Some people even asked Ning Shu if his world of reincarnation could connect to other worlds now. Ning Shu only said that his world wasn't stable yet, so it couldn't connect to other worlds. The chat group, which had been dead silent before, began to chat. Ning Shu didn't know these people. He clicked on he and asked him alone, "Why did you pull me into such a group?" And he sent an emoji of picking his nose. Of course it's convenient to monitor you. If you dare to slaughter creatures, you will be beheaded in this group. Ning Shu. Does the organization not trust my character that much? Ning Shu couldn't help but ask. If she did something, it would definitely be broadcasted live. The punishment she would receive would be broadcasted live. Fuck, after all this time, this was what it was all about. He wanted to leave the group in anger. And what's there to be upset about? Everyone in the group is being monitored. Next time, send a bigger red packet. Ning Shu, if you think it's too small, don't snatch it. You're snatching it faster than anyone else. Why don't you patrol the billions of worlds and snatch red packets instead? Ning Shu closed the chat system. He didn't want to see it. His head hurt. He thought he had infiltrated the organization, but it turned out that he was the target of surveillance. She had always followed the rules, trembling with fear. She never dared to do anything wrong. Ning Shu dared to pat his chest and guarantee that his character was good. She should still have some character. The organization didn't trust her so much. It was probably difficult for them to know how to purify soul power. Now they suspected that she was going to slaughter creatures. If she knew how to purify souls, these people would definitely suspect that she was going to slaughter creatures and destroy the world. Even if it was someone else, Ning Shu would think that this person would do that. Ning Shu could only comfort himself. Of course, when she was strong, she had to be monitored. In the past, she was invisible. Who would care? I smiled proudly. 2333. Do the missions. Ning Shu. Okay. How many missions have I accumulated now? 2333 said somewhat helplessly, quite a lot. There weren't many missions before, but your speed of completion couldn't catch up with the speed of distribution, so now the number of missions has been reduced by a lot. Ning Shu, how many did you say there were? 2333. About 20. As time goes by, there will be more. 30, 50, 100, 100,000. Ning Shu, that was she the only mission enforcer left in this world? 100,000? I advise you to at least complete half of the missions. When the time comes, you can pass a check. The number of missions you've completed now, the organization will think that you didn't do any missions at all. /BK. Chapter 2551. What if he didn't have enough time? The 9 Palace Mountain matter couldn't be delayed, so he could only reduce the mission time. Because he was late, there was a lot less soul fluid. If he destroyed 5 cities in one go, he would definitely receive more soul fluid. But he couldn't not do the mission. There were so many things to do that he couldn't stop. Okay, let's do the mission now. 2333, system mission? Ning Shu, why do you ask every time? How do I reject? 2333, system mission? Ning Shu, go ahead. Ning Shu opened the exchange system and exchanged for fasting pills and medicine. If he encountered the same world again, the fasting pills could help him survive. It could guarantee the basic nutrients his body needed. Let's do the mission. Ning Shu said. Ning Shu felt the world spinning. His soul fused into a body like water. Once it fused into the body, Ning Shu felt like his stomach was being scraped by a steel knife. It was very uncomfortable. There was a warm flow. His stomach was very uncomfortable. Ning Shu held his stomach. Did she have a miscarriage? There was an indescribable sadness in his body. Ning Shu opened his eyes and saw ancient decorations. Why was it that every time he entered a bad situation? At this time, the client's body was in a special situation. It was easier to possess them. But she felt uncomfortable. Ning Shu started to use his ultimate martial arts. He didn't believe that he couldn't do it. There was some spiritual energy in the ancient world. After using his ultimate martial arts, his body finally had some spiritual energy. It was all used to heal his stomach. His stomach hurt too much. Ning Shu felt that this body definitely had a miscarriage. Otherwise, it wouldn't bleed and hurt so much. Was it menstruation? No matter what, he had to stop the pain first. Ning Shu ate 2 more painkillers. There wasn't any saliva in his mouth. Ning Shu wanted to condense a drop of water, but he couldn't use the power of law. Well, Ning Shu could only swallow it. The pill was stuck in her throat and she couldn't swallow it. Ning Shu, looking at the decorations, this should be a rich family. Why didn't they have a maid by their side? After accumulating some saliva, he stretched his neck and swallowed the pill. He endured the pain in his abdomen and began to accept the plot. The client's name was Pan Wenlun. She was the daughter of a merchant and the wife of Lu Hao, a 4th-rank cabinet secretary. Judging from the current level of rank 4, he should be considered a leader at the level of a department. Just as Ning Shu had guessed, the client really did have a miscarriage. As for the cause of the miscarriage, it had something to do with the people in the backyard. The client was the daughter of a merchant. For a merchant's daughter to marry a 4th-rank official as his wife, it could be said that she was climbing the social ladder. In ancient times, the sons of merchants were not allowed to participate in the imperial examinations. Although their lives were worry-free, their social status was really not high, especially in the era of scholars. Scholars were lofty and regarded money as dung and were moral role models. It was not easy for a merchant's daughter to marry into a wealthy family if she wanted to return home. Speaking of the client's husband, it was really an inspirational drama. He was originally a farmer. His father was old and his mother was bedridden. In this era where studying was a luxury, Lu Hao forcefully carved out a path for himself. He killed his way into the Imperial Examination Army and went from a small official to where he was now. There was not much time left. Actually, this Lu Hao was no longer the same person. He was a university student who had just graduated. After failing to find a job, he was angry and pointed to the sky. Then, a bolt of lightning struck him and killed him. Then he came to ancient times. When he opened his eyes, he was faced with a dilapidated house. He lived a bitter life facing the yellow soil with his back facing the sky. Moreover, his soul was tied to a system called One Step to Heaven. The system's mission was to let the host become an existence that was second only to one person within a set time. He would be promoted to nobility and be conferred the title of Marquis. Of course, it would be even better if he could rebel. However, at this time, scholars were all precious. After all, studying could often make a family poor. Entering the school, writing, ink, paper, inkstone, and the teacher's tuition was a large sum of money. How could ordinary people who dug out food from the soil and relied on the sky to survive have money for their children to study? Moreover, ancient knowledge was monopolized. It was in the hands of the aristocratic families. The aristocratic families produced many talents and controlled the imperial court. Ordinary people were poor generation after generation. It was not easy for a golden phoenix to appear in a chicken coop. Lu Hao, who had transmigrated, was in a predicament. When he saw the system's time and the system's reward, he could only slowly think of a way. Because this body was quite well built and had strength, he worked as a laborer in Squire Pan's house. Lu Hao showed that he was quick-witted. Sometimes, he could even do accounting. The accountant calculated quickly and was literate. Squire Pan was also the client's father. He felt that this person was a talent, so he called him over to ask about his future plans. Lu Hao said without hesitation that he wanted to study and take the imperial examination. Squire Pan felt that this was a little difficult. After all, Lu Hao was now 15 or 16 years old. Those who took the imperial examination did not study from a young age. However, Lu Hao was full of confidence. In modern times, he was a university student. Because of his studies, he could not find a good job after graduation. He did not believe that he could not find a job in ancient times. Squire Pan saw that this laborer was so confident and decided to sponsor him. If this person was successful in the future, at least there would be some friendship. If he failed, it would be a loss of business. Furthermore, this kid was smart. He would definitely be a good businessman in the future. Ancient merchants invested in him in advance. If they married their daughter to the other party, it would slightly change their family background. Lu Hao first experienced the awkwardness and confusion of traditional and simplified Chinese characters. Finally, he could recognize the traditional characters of ancient times. Then, he began to study the 4 books and 5 classics. Lu Hao felt a headache coming. He realized that what he had learned in modern times was just child's play. There were so many books, he had to learn them all. Because of Squire Pan's sponsorship, Lu Hao's life was not so tight. Although he did not eat lavishly, he did not have to starve all day. He participated in the elementary examination. The oldest one was 20 or 30 years old, while the youngest was 7 or 8 years old. Lu Hao's age was not very conspicuous. Lu Hao participated in the elementary examination for the first time. Furthermore, his ranking was quite high. If he went one level higher, he would be considered a scholar. Squire Pan was very happy. If Lu Hao passed the college examination and became a scholar, he would not need to kneel in front of the officials. Even if he did not pass the examination, he would still be a scholar. He would be able to do business with him and marry his daughter to him. Squire Pan asked his daughter to take a look at Lu Hao. Pan Wenlan saw Lu Hao sitting by the door reading a book. Although there was a run-down house behind him, Pan Wenlan only had eyes for Lu Hao. /BK Chapter 2553. As the number one man that all the noble ladies in the capital wanted to marry, Lu Hao had taken in many people over the years. Some of them were noble ladies from noble families, while others were singers and dancers sent by his colleagues. Lu Hao was a modern person, so he didn't have such a strong sense of class. For a single man in the modern world, Lu Hao would do some especially considerate things like cooking porridge for his concubines or giving them small gifts. He seemed to be very caring and very good, different from other men. Some unmarried girls wanted to marry him, even if it was to be a concubine. It was as if they were retarded. All the women in Lu Hao's backyard were equal. In the backyard, there were princesses of golden branches and jade leaves, noble ladies from famous families, noble ladies from aristocratic families, and also those of low status, such as dancers and singers, and even prostitutes from brothels. The difference in status was like heaven and earth, but they had to get along well and call each other sisters. 3 women were enough to make a scene, let alone so many. Those with high status looked down on those with low status, and those with low status were jealous of those with high status. They thought that even if they had high status, they would still be concubines. But in front of Lu Hao, their sisterhood was really deep. They gave in to each other and were happy. As for the client, the main wife was rejected by all the concubines. Everyone looked down on her. How could she be the main wife? As the number of women in Lu Hao's backyard increased, Lu Hao's official position also increased. He went from a small official to a lower-class 4th-rank official. Being an official could give one luck. For someone like him to become a man, the luck of heaven and earth would gather on his body. Moreover, he could also steal the luck from the women in the backyard. Like the princesses and noble ladies, these women all had luck. If they didn't have luck, they would only be children of ordinary families. How could they live a luxurious life and have a group of servants? In the past, there was a system that stole the luck of those geniuses. Of course, there was also a system that stole the luck of women. The client finally got pregnant, but she had a miscarriage not long ago. As for the reason of the miscarriage, it was because she ate something that she shouldn't have. In the backyard, there were many women with all kinds of identities. There were also many pickled things. Everyone outside said that Lu Hao treated her very well, that he would never leave his wife, but only she knew the pain she had to go through. The client had no dignity in this backyard. Even the girls from the brothels despised her. In this backyard, their existence was almost transparent. The women in the backyard had formed their own cliques and cliques. Even so, there were still many women who wanted to marry him. Lu Hao's reputation was very good outside, and many women envied the women who married Lu Hao. It was because Lu Hao treated every woman well and loved them deeply. The client's heart was as dead as ashes. The client who had lost her child was filled with grief and indignation. However, Lu Hao trusted his woman very much. He felt that his woman could not be so vicious. Say it's because the client is old and pregnant. She was an advanced pregnant woman, so it was possible for her to have a miscarriage. When facing women, men had an inexplicable sense of superiority. They felt that women loved them very much and would not do such a thing. Everyone went on blind dates, and everyone was harmonious and close, as if they were sisters. No, even blood-related sisters weren't this close. The client was in despair. The child that she had been looking forward to for so many years had died in the womb and turned into a pool of blood. The women in the backyard were now laughing at her. As the child's father, Lu Hao actually did not think of doing anything for the child he had lost. He even found the murderer. This matter was over just like that. Because the client had suffered a blow, she was bedridden and had constant vomiting. Her body had not recovered, so Lu Hao naturally would not come to see her. However, he had always done a good job of keeping up appearances. He had prepared all kinds of medicinal herbs for his wife to nourish her body, and all kinds of expensive things were stuffed into the client's room. In addition, the outside world's evaluation of him had always been very high, saying that he was different from ordinary men. Of course, he had to maintain this image. Ning Shu moved her body and felt that her stomach was very painful. When she moved, there was vomit below. Her body was very heavy, and she felt dizzy. She really did not have long to live. The client died not long after, and Lu Hao was conferred the title of Marquis. In the end, he opened up a new territory and opened up an overseas market. He actually became a prince. He brought his women and strolled around the world. He could be said to be a strengthened version of Wei Xiaobao. The three great joys in life, promotion, wealth, and a dead wife, Lu Hao had all of them. The feeling came a little late. The current Lu Hao had basically become a winner in life. He was already a lower-class fourth-rank official. If time went back to when Lu Hao was still a bumpkin, killing him would be a matter of minutes. But now it was not possible. After all, he was an official of the imperial court. Moreover, in this era that paid attention to being implicated, the family would be exterminated at the slightest provocation. If something happened to Lu Hao, it would also implicate her and the client's family. Even more so, she could not let Lu Hao be charged with any crime, such as rebellion. He would definitely be implicated. Ning Shu thought in her heart. There was not a single drop of saliva in her mouth. She was very thirsty, but there was no one around to take care of her. She had to get up to drink water by herself. The water was cold. Ning Shu touched the cup and did not drink. Her stomach was so painful, drinking cold water would be like adding frost to snow. "Madam, why are you up?" The maid, Xiao Chui, saw Ning Shu sitting on a stool as soon as she entered the door. She quickly found a soft cushion for Ning Shu to sit down. "I'm thirsty. Get me some hot water," Ning Shu said. Xiao Chui quickly ran to get water. After a while, she hurriedly carried a pot of hot water over. Xiao Chui poured a cup of water and used her mouth to warm the water before handing it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu drank the water as she asked Xiao Chui, "What did you do? Why were you gone for so long?" "I went to stew soup for Madam to nourish her body, but all the stoves in the kitchen were occupied. The cook said that she wanted to stew bird's nest for the princess first." When Xiao Chui mentioned this matter, she was so angry that her eyebrows raised. "It's not what this young miss wants to eat, it's what that young miss wants to eat. I can't even make soup for Madam." In any case, these women in the backyard were all ancestors. The client was already used to it and was also used to retreating. When she encountered such a thing, she never thought of fighting for it. She would avoid it for as long as possible. It was really because the client's identity was worlds apart from these people. The only advantage she had was the identity of the main wife, but in the end, it was taken away. In this backyard, all the women were equal. The client had no advantage at all. Ning Shu touched his growling stomach. He was indeed hungry. /BK. Chapter 2554. Go out and buy a stove. We'll make soup in our own courtyard. Ning Shu said lightly. Yes, this servant will do it now. Xiao Chui looked quite happy. In the past, Madam always said that she should do what others did. However, the servants in the manor all bowed to the high and stepped on the low. No matter what they did, they would first prepare good things for the noble madam with a good family background. Sometimes, the madam couldn't even eat something hot when she wanted to. The madam only knew how to endure. That's right, all the women who married in this backyard were called Madam, Madam Li, Madam Gu. They were all Madam. This was the first in the capital. In other manors they were all called concubines, but here, they were all Madams. It was really not differentiated. The client was called Madam Pan by the servants. In fact, the client went from being an official wife to an existence like these concubines. This kind of, you are good, I am good, everyone is good. Some of the bitterness was swallowed by the client. However, if you didn't say it, who would know that you were in pain? Who would know that you were crying in your heart? Only a crying child would have milk to drink. On one hand, the client had low self-esteem. The miscarriage incident made the client completely understand one thing. Some people mistook fickleness for deep love. Lu Hao was similar to other men. He treated women as capital to show off. The more women he had, the stronger a man was. Just like animal groups, strong males could always have more females and have more opportunities to pass on their genes. Unfortunately, the women in the backyard were all immersed in Lu Hao's deep love and felt that they had found the best home. This was because this man would do things that other men wouldn't do. Feeding, massaging, and even during menstruation, He would help rub their stomachs or let the servants prepare warm things to warm their stomachs. He also invented things like simple sanitary napkins. Lu Hao was even known as a friend of women. It was because he loved his women that he invented these things. When an imperial censor said that Lu Hao wasn't a gentleman, Lu Hao righteously said that all men were born from women. Moreover, he loved his wife. What was wrong with that? Instead, the emperor looked at Lu Hao in a different light. The emperor couldn't be bothered to comment on whether Lu Hao was being a gentleman or not. After all, it was someone else's backyard. However, one of them was his own daughter. The emperor was still very happy that his daughter was being treated well. Ning Shu grinned. Xiao Cui had gone out to buy some things. Ning Shu ate a fasting pill and lay back down on the bed. After sitting like this for a while, he felt that his back was sore and his heart was short of breath. Why did it feel like all the system missions were like this? Not only did the system seize the host's soul, it turned out that Lu Hao's soul had also been taken away and devoured by the system. This system was much more advanced than the prostitute system from before, and it threw its host into the limelight. Naturally, there would be people who believed in it, and there would be people who would throw themselves at it. Moreover, it could gather fate. Ning Shu cultivated peacefully. He did not care about anything else. Having a good body was very important. Only with a good body could he work hard. She couldn't do anything while lying in bed, and she had to make those people laugh their heads off. In such a situation, she had to sleep in bed for a few days. The thin spiritual energy merged into her body, and Ning Shu used all the spiritual energy to repair her body. Recently, the missions that she had done had the bodies of the people who had entrusted her with missions that were sick or on the verge of death. As she cultivated, Ning Shu fell asleep in a daze. This body had never slept well, and sleeping was the best way to repair the body. After a comfortable sleep, Ning Shu woke up and saw a man sitting by the bed. This man's face was like jade, and he looked very refined. Ning Shu felt that he must have made some minor adjustments. Moreover, it was a minor adjustment without any side effects. The system was really powerful. It was even the head of the beauty salon. Lu Hao saw his wife staring at his face, and he could not help but frown and ask, "What's wrong with you?" Ning Shu suddenly sighed. "Husband, I feel that you seem to be different from before. You look like you, but you don't look like you. You've become more good-looking." Lu Hao's eyes flickered. After all, it was not the original. After making some minor adjustments, he changed the topic and said, "Are you feeling better?" "No, I still feel uncomfortable. I'm bleeding, and I've changed several blankets. The doctor said that I'm going to lose a lot of blood." Ning Shu said directly, "Although I can't make your heart ache, it's good to disgust you." Lu Hao asked somewhat reproachfully, "Didn't I prepare some nourishing food for your body? Why aren't you eating?" "There's no pot. The pots in the kitchen are all used up. There are many madams in the backyard, so it's not easy to eat." Ning Shu said indifferently. Lu Hao let go of Ning Shu's hand. "So you're blaming me? What is there to blame husband for?" "I'm not blaming husband. I'm just stating the facts." Lu Hao frowned and said, "In the end, you think that the child in your stomach was killed by one of the madams in the backyard. That won't happen." He refused to believe that those women who loved him would harm his child from the bottom of his heart. He was confident that these women loved him deeply. Ning Shu was speechless. There was no way to talk about it. Men looked for many women to reproduce. In the end, the more women there were, the fewer children there would be. "Then take good care of your body. I'll get the kitchen to prepare a stove for you to stew soup." Lu Hao had been in the government for so long, so he took care of everything. Ning Shu sighed in his heart. Lu Hao, who had grown up, was not easy to deal with. In addition, there were many women with prominent family backgrounds in the backyard, which provided Lu Hao's system with a lot of luck. This was a living example of being sold and still helping to count the money. Of course, these women didn't know anything. They were still glad that they met the best man in their lives. Ning Shu was speechless. Was this not a stud-horse man? And a very pretentious stud-horse man. What equality, love for everything, as if he could risk his life for every woman. Xiao Cui asked the servant to move the donkey into the courtyard. She walked into the house and said to Ning Shu, "Madam, this servant saw that the son-in-law just came. And did you buy a stove? Let's do soup." Ning Shu decided to eat and sleep well and take care of his body before fighting. The client's wish was very complicated. She hated her husband, but she didn't know what to do with him. Her husband was her support, but there were more and more women in the backyard, making her life hopeless. She was the main wife, but she didn't receive the treatment of a main wife. She was even worse than a concubine. However, outsiders said that Lu Hao would never leave her, the main wife. No matter how noble a woman's status was, when she entered Lu Hao's backyard, she would be a co-wife and not the main wife. This, actually, the client could rest assured. Lu Hao wouldn't abandon her. Lu Hao's good reputation was built from her. /BK. Chapter 2555. If Lu Hao abandoned her, everything that Lu Hao had done before would be exposed. It would be like slapping himself in the face. Even his image would be destroyed. However, the client's life was also very difficult. She wouldn't have died not long after the miscarriage. Ning Shu felt that none of the women in the backyard were simple. The princess had the greatest backing, the emperor. The noble ladies all had powerful family backgrounds. Furthermore, they were all daughters who were carefully raised. None of them were simple. The child in the client's stomach should be a trick of these people. Speaking of which, Lu Hao's heirs were indeed quite thin. Other than the princess having a daughter and the client getting pregnant and then having a miscarriage, the other wives didn't have any movements. He didn't know the reason. There was definitely no problem with Lu Hao's ability. He just didn't know why he had so few heirs. Xiao Cui started a fire in the courtyard to stew soup. She stayed by the stove and stewed for more than 2 hours. Her face was covered in ashes from the pot. She stewed a fragrant soup for Ning Shu. Ning Shu drank 2 bowls in a row. When Xiao Cui saw that Ning Shu was willing to eat, she was very happy. After drinking 2 bowls of soup, her entire body felt warm. She was especially energetic when she cultivated. However, her lower body was especially uncomfortable, as if she was on her period. "I won't meet anyone who comes over these few days," Ning Shu said to Xiao Cui. Xiao Cui asked, "What if it's the princess?" The madams were especially weak when facing the princess. They basically wouldn't reject the princess. Status determined one's personality. Ning Shu said directly, "Say that I'm recuperating. If they're not afraid of being tainted, just tell them the truth." Ning Shu didn't want to have to deal with such a large group of people when he was cultivating and recuperating. The client didn't dare to reject, but it didn't mean that she had to support these people. Some of these people were daughters that their families had carefully nurtured. They could marry into rich and powerful families and be the main wife of a family of equal status. In the end, they all came together to be Lu Hao's concubines. Although they were co-wives, they were actually concubines. What kind of magic did this Lu Hao have? It was probably the system that strengthened his male hormones. Or was it because Lu Hao had managed his reputation too well, causing these women to lose a string in their heads? Being an official required a good reputation. Most likely, no one was like Lu Hao, who started with women. Other men wouldn't even bother to do this. Ning Shu couldn't help but think of a conspiracy theory. In fact, the client and Lu Hao were no longer in love with each other after they came to the capital. There were too many women distracting Lu Hao's attention. Sometimes, Lu Hao had no choice but to use the client as a shield. For example, when he rejected the princess, he used the client as an excuse. If he really stopped having a wife and remarried, then his political future in this life would be more or less gone. Even if he became a prince consort, he would be a prince consort who ate free rice and did not have any real power. Now that the princess had married into the Lu family as a concubine, the situation was different. It was not the other way around, but the other way around. It's not that I'm vain and greedy for glory and wealth to marry a princess. Not only would he gain an advantage, but he would also gain a good reputation. Before Lu Hao transmigrated, he was only a university student. What's more, he was a university student who had yet to enter society. How did he become so dark all of a sudden? Ning Shu felt that he was probably thinking too much. However, Lu Hao, who was a 4th-rank secondary class, should be very dark now. He had connections. There were so many women in the backyard, and all of them were family connections. There was also the princess. Whoever dares to touch the princess's man, I will destroy them. In terms of status, he was already a 4th-rank secondary class. He should be considered the person who was promoted the fastest. Therefore, the current Lu Hao was already showing signs of soaring to the sky. Ning Shu scratched his head. It was a bit difficult. She had to protect herself and drag Lu Hao down with her. It was basically impossible, because if Lu Hao was dragged down, she would also be dragged down with 9 generations of her family. Xiao Cui saw that the madam had become firm and was very happy. She immediately replied crisply, Xiao Cui will definitely not let anyone else in to disturb the madam. Xiao Cui did not dare to mention the matter of the child. She was afraid that the madam would be sad. Xiao Cui felt that the son-in-law was a heartless man. When the son-in-law had nothing, the madam was by his side and took care of everything for him. Now that he had a bright future, he had so many women. The madam planted a tree, fertilized and watered it every day. It was not easy for it to bear fruit. The fruit was ripe, but there were so many people coming to pick the fruit. They even bullied the people who watered and fertilized it. Was it easy for the madam to stay with the son-in-law until now? The people outside all said how good the son-in-law was, but he was a chin shimmy. Ning Shu lived the life of a postpartum confinement. She ate whatever was delicious and drank soup every day. After a month of postpartum confinement, Ning Shu fattened up this body. There were women in the backyard who came to visit Ning Shu. They said that they came to see if she was doing well. They were all stopped by Xiao Cui. The postpartum confinement was quiet. When she came out of the confinement, she washed herself. When she looked in the mirror, her face was rosy. In fact, if she tortured herself like this and fell into pain, but the people she cared about did not care at all, the one who was in pain was still herself. She could eat, sleep, play, and enjoy a rich life. Didn't the entrusted person's father marry her to Lu Hao so that his daughter could live a rich life? And it was a life of status. In the end, she led a miserable life. One's attitude towards life was very important. No matter what she faced, she had to love herself first. She had not left the courtyard for more than a month. After washing up, Ning Shu went to walk around the garden. She had to meet these women. The child in the entrusted person's stomach was gone. It must be done by these women in the backyard. As for who it was, she had to investigate carefully. The death of her child must be avenged. At the same time, she had to think of a way to deal with Lu Hao. The Lu residence was quite big. As the number of women in the backyard increased, it was expanded several times. With the addition of the princess, the Imperial Household Department bought many things in the Lu residence, making the Lu residence look luxurious. The weather was good. Ning Shu walked in the garden and saw that the pavilion was filled with women who were chatting and calling each other sisters intimately. At a glance, there were beautiful women. They were fat and thin. There were all kinds of styles. Noble and cold, pure and moving, charming and enchanting. With the system, she could become a winner in life. Who would have thought that Lu Hao's core was a young man who could not even find a job in modern society? He came here to become a high-ranking official. In the future, he would be conferred the title of Marquis. How strange. Ning Shu's sudden appearance caused the scene to be silent for a moment. The most frightening thing was that the air suddenly became silent. Sister Pan, are you feeling better? Princess Ning Shu, who was sitting in the middle, asked. The princess's clothes were probably the best here. She wore an exquisite hairpin made by the royal craftsman and a jade bracelet with almost no impurities on her wrist. /BK. Chapter 2556. The princess had the aura of royalty. All the women in the pavilion treated her as their leader. Ning Shu's gaze swept across the women present. Some of them looked at Ning Shu openly, while others avoided Ning Shu's gaze. Ning Shu memorized all the women who were acting strangely in his heart. Then, he said to the princess, your body has recovered, but the wound in your heart hasn't. The princess's expression flickered. She said comfortingly, Sister Pan, Don't be sad. This child is gone. It means that you and the child are not fated. When fate comes, you will naturally have it. Ning Shu was speechless. Why don't you say that if the old doesn't go, the new won't come? Ning Shu saw that there were no more seats in the pavilion, but no one gave up their seats. Ning Shu stared at a madam. He didn't know this madam. Anyway, there were many women in the backyard. The client was always in his own courtyard. Sometimes, even the madams in the backyard couldn't figure it out. He couldn't figure out why modern people ran to the ancient times. The living conditions in the ancient times were clearly more difficult. They relied on their legs to walk and shouted to communicate. If they weren't careful, they would lose their lives. It seemed that they couldn't survive in the modern era and could achieve great things in the ancient times. The ancient people weren't so stupid. Many systems ran to the ancient times. To Ning Shu, the only thing better about the ancient times than the modern times was that there was spiritual energy. The madam who was sitting felt uncomfortable under Ning Shu's gaze. She could only give up her seat. Ning Shu sat down openly and asked with a smile, "What are you talking about? Tell me." One of the madams covered her mouth and said, "Sister Pan, we were just talking about a shop. The things are expensive and ugly. What a profiteer. I think it's a jewelry shop called Iju." Everyone seemed to have found a topic and started discussing. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. He lowered his head and played with his fingernails. However, Xiao Chui, who was behind Ning Shu, was so angry that her face was red. This jewelry shop was opened by the old master. When the young miss and the young master arrived at the capital, the old master also came to the capital to open a shop. He didn't expect the shop to earn much money. He just hoped that if the young miss needed anything, she could go to the shop and let him know. So that miss would have a place to stay when she went out in the capital. If anything happened, she could take care of her. These people were pointing at the mulberry tree and cursing the locust tree. Ning Shu looked at his hand and then glanced at the woman who spoke. He said indifferently, "If I remember correctly, Sister Lee used to be from the Cool Breeze gang. You don't have the money to buy things, but you still say things are expensive. What kind of logic is that?" Could it be that the money benefactor gave was not enough to buy a piece of jewelry? Hurriedly coming out to be the vanguard, he had to be prepared to face a hail of bullets. "You're talking nonsense. Although I come from a humble background, I'm still a virgin." Mrs. Lee immediately defended herself. She felt that the women around her were looking at her with a playful gaze. She was so angry that she glared at Ning Shu. What was wrong with this woman? Why did she have thorns all over her body? In the past, she wouldn't have come to gatherings like this and would have stayed far away. Virgin, that's to say that you don't even have a benefactor. You're a poor wretch who doesn't have any benefactor to give you money. You can't afford to buy things and you're cursing other people as profiteers. You can ask the princess. Would the princess curse other people as profiteers because she can't afford to buy things? Ning Shu looked indifferently at Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Lee's face flushed red. Today, she was actually stabbed by the doe-like Mrs. Pan. This made Mrs. Lee feel insulted. The madams of low status in the residence all took pleasure in stepping on Pan Wanlan, as if they were noble. The princess used a handkerchief to cover her mouth, as if to hide her emotions. Finally, she said to Ning Shu, "Sister Pan, it's not good to talk about this kind of thing here." Ning Shu asked in surprise, "Why can't you talk about it? Many people here came from that place. If you can't talk about it, it means that these people shouldn't be standing here." The princess was speechless. Mrs. Lee's face turned purple and she glared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu laughed again. "I'm just saying it casually. Don't mind it. Ever since I lost my child, my spirit hasn't been very good. I'm sad and I blame myself. I blame myself for not being able to give birth to a child for the master. Every day I can't eat or sleep well. When I fall asleep, there's a child crying beside my ear. I can't stand it anymore." Ning Shu's voice was low and gloomy. At first glance, it sounded a little eerie and scary. Some of the women present turned pale, and some of their eyes flickered. The princess's expression was normal as she said, "Sister Pan is overthinking things. Relax your spirit. I believe that you can definitely give birth to another child for the master." Ning Shu nodded. She seemed to be touched and held the princess's hand. She said, "Thank you, sister. That's why I've been taking care of my body and preparing to give birth to another child for the master. If the master knew that sister is so virtuous, he would definitely be very happy." "Princess, what did I say? I didn't say that I would give the master to you." The princess didn't have much contact with this main wife. Now that she looked at her, she was a little thick-skinned. The princess pulled her hand out and said directly, "All of us want to give the master a child. That's why everyone has to work hard. However, I think that it's better to find a doctor to take a look at the master and nourish his body. Perhaps everyone will be able to conceive a child easily. However, it's not easy to get a child. Everyone, don't be like me." As Ning Shu spoke, she covered her face with a handkerchief and began to cry. Her voice was like that of a female ghost, which gave everyone goosebumps. "Every day when I sleep, my ears are filled with the sound of my child crying. As a mother, my heart hurts as if it's being cut by a knife. I don't understand why my child is crying so heartbreakingly. He's crying so much that my heart is about to break." A good chat session had inexplicably turned into a memorial session. Ning Shu cried for a long time. She wiped her face with a handkerchief. "I'm sorry. I'm too sad. Ever since I married the master, I've only been pregnant with this one child. In the end, the child is gone. I'm so sad. I'm so desperate. Boo-hoo." Ning Shu covered her face with her handkerchief and cried again. Everyone, but the princess couldn't help but interrupt Ning Shu's sobs. She comforted Ning Shu. "Sister Pan, don't be too sad. You'll have a child eventually." "Thank you, princess." After Ning Shu's commotion, everyone was no longer in the mood to eat melon seeds and chat. The sun was shining brightly, but after her commotion, they felt that the surroundings had become gloomy. Wasn't it embarrassing to talk about such a thing? If you lost a child, everyone would only be very happy. Did you really think that everyone could empathize with you? At most, they would feel a little guilty. Ning Shu used her mental strength to observe the expression of the woman in the pavilion. Then she bade farewell and left, covering her face with tears. Everyone thought she was really unlucky. Pan Wenlon was the unluckiest person in the backyard. This person's existence made people feel very uncomfortable, but she had always been with the master. /BK. Chapter 2557. The women in the backyard were all as beautiful as flowers, but this woman was an old woman. The princess frowned and said, "Everyone, disperse. Don't tell the master about what happened today. Sister Pan is upset and is complaining to everyone. It's fine if you all hear about it." Because of her noble status, she was the hidden main wife in the backyard. These people would not submit to Pan Wenlon, but they would be deterred by her status. After all, her father was the emperor, the king of the world. Ning Shu returned to her courtyard and casually wiped her face. Xiao Cui, on the other hand, was glowing. "Miss, you don't have to be polite with these people. You are the main wife and they are the concubines." Ning Shu only said, "Don't say such things. The master doesn't like to hear it." Ning Shu was combing her hair in front of the mirror. She seemed to have found a strand of white hair and immediately pulled it out. Looking at the white hair, she was already an old woman in the eyes of the ancient people. In fact, she was only 25 years old and had been married to Lu Hao for almost 10 years. She accompanied Lu Hao through the imperial examinations and then rose from a small official in the Hanlin Academy to the 4th rank of the secondary class. It was not easy for her to get pregnant, and the child she had been looking forward to for so many years was gone. It would be strange if the client did not break down. The girls in the rear courtyard were all around 15 or 16 years old. Compared to the delicate flowers of 17 or 18 years old, the client looked old. As a modern person, Lu Hao actually said that the client was 25 years old. What a joke. His reason was not good enough. Ning Shu used her mental strength to cover the entire Lu residence. She wanted to see how these women would react after she cried and made a fuss. There must be some special emotions after returning to their own courtyard. Xiao Cui went to make soup for Ning Shu. Ning Shu lay on the bed with her eyes closed. She looked like she was resting, but in fact she was observing every woman in the backyard. Most of the daughters of the aristocratic families did not react. They were indifferent to this matter. It was Madame Yin who was secretly burying something. Madame Yin was a singer raised by a minister. She had heard that Lu Hao was very good to women. During another banquet, she played the wrong guqin and knelt on the ground in fear to beg for forgiveness. Madame Yin appeared in front of Lu Hao in such a weak and helpless state. Every man had a dream of being a hero, or a hero saving a damsel in distress. Women hoped that there would be a man who would step on the rainbow clouds to save them. She could only repay the favor of saving her life with her body. Just like that, they hit it off. In any case, Madame Yin gave people the impression that she was gentle and weak, like a dodder flower. It made men feel that this woman couldn't leave them and that she wouldn't be able to live without them. He was so imposing. Madame Yin buried the things, washed up, and went to the princess's courtyard. She wanted to see the princess, but was stopped by the princess's maidservant, who said that the princess was resting. Madame Yin was very anxious and repeatedly insisted that she wanted to meet the princess. However, the maidservant raised her chin and simply said, "No." Madame Yin could only return in disappointment. Ning Shu turned over and opened his eyes. Madame Yin, Prince. He would wait until it was late at night to see what she had buried. Seeing that Madame Yin was looking for the princess in such a hurry, she must have something to tell the princess, but the princess refused to see her. After Lu Hao got off work, he came to visit Ning Shu as usual. He asked about Ning Shu's health, showed his concern, and said a few nice words. The thing that modern girls hated the most was to drink more water. He opened his mouth and the ancient girls liked it very much. Then, Lu Hao drew lots to accompany a woman. Lu Hao was living like an emperor these days. Drawing lots? These were all women he loved deeply. It wasn't good to choose any one of them. He would leave it to the heavens to decide. Drawing lots was fair to everyone. Everyone had the same chance of being caught. Ning Shu used his mental power to take a look and almost spat out saliva. Is this really okay? Why don't you call everyone over and have fun with them? Everyone was as close as sisters. It wouldn't be a big deal even if they were honest with each other. Lu Hao picked Madame Yin. Madame Yin actually fit Lu Hao's impression of ancient women. She played the guqin and was beautiful. Ning Shu, sister, only wants to go to Madame Yin's courtyard in the middle of the night. She didn't know if Lu Hao's system had a scanning function. What if she was scanned by the system when she went to Madame Yin's courtyard? Therefore, Ning Shu decided to wait a day before digging. Some people were unhappy that he had to sleep in Madame Yin's courtyard continuously. For example, the princess. The princess's status was so high that it couldn't be ignored. If he married the big boss's daughter and complained to the big boss about it, he would be the one at a disadvantage. Ning Shu used his mental power to check the princess's courtyard. For some reason, perhaps it was his sixth sense, Ning Shu felt that this matter had something to do with the princess. The princess was the only woman in this courtyard who had a child. The others didn't. This was very suspicious. Moreover, Madame Yin even went to look for her. Madame Yin was also in the pavilion at that time. Lu Hao was really a hindrance. He made it impossible for her to dig up the things Madame Yin buried. Ning Shu got up from the bed and stretched. Xiao Cui had already brought in the stewed soup. Ning Shu drank the soup and asked Xiao Cui, "Do we have anything from the princess in our courtyard?" "Madam, why are you asking this? You've already kept the princess's things. They're useless in the cupboard," Xiao Cui said. "Do you want to take them out now?" Ning Shu nodded. "Take them all out. Let me see." The fact that these women in the courtyard didn't have a child probably had something to do with the princess's gifts. As someone who had seen countless otaku fighting dimensions, these gifts were mixed with personal goods. It was very damaging to the women. In terms of sterilization, the women in ancient times could be said to be innovating. All of them were experts at abortion and contributed to family planning. Xiao Cui immediately opened the cupboard and took out many things. There were pieces of cloth, ready-made clothes, and some jewelry. These jewelry didn't look cheap either. The princess was probably the most generous person in this residence. From time to time, she would reward some things to buy people's hearts. She looked like a proper wife. The princess was like this now because the person who entrusted her with the gifts didn't live up to her expectations. She didn't fight for her rights and interests and didn't dare to fight for it. When Lu Hao said that the women in the courtyard weren't differentiated by age, she should have asked clearly and asked who she was. In this way, her rights were taken away. "Madam, everything is here," Xiao Chui said. She didn't quite understand why Madam had suddenly found the things. Ning Shu put down the spoon and checked the pieces of cloth, clothes, jewelry, and facial cream one by one. She put the clothes to her nose and sniffed. There wasn't any special smell. Then she poured water on the cloth and sniffed again. There was nothing unusual about the clothes and jewelry. This made Ning Shu feel that she might be gauging the heart of a gentleman with her own mean measure. /BK. Chapter 2558. Opening the lid, Ning Shu took a whiff. It was quite fragrant. There didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. Could it be that so many women were infertile? Was the princess pregnant? The client had been married to Lu Hao for almost 10 years, and this was the first time she was pregnant. Could it be Lu Hao's problem? There were a lot of problems in this. When the client was bedridden, all problems would be solved if he died. She didn't want to get to the bottom of it, but she was unwilling to change her life. Ning Shu propped up her chin and rummaged through the items. Xiao Chui asked, "Madam, what are you looking for?" "Nothing." Ning Shu opened another box of facial cream. The facial cream was crystal clear and jelly-like. It wasn't easy to have such a facial cream in ancient times. Facial creams were used to maintain the health of women in ancient times. The technology used to make these cosmetics was crude. Most of them contained heavy metals such as lead and mercury. Using them for a long time would cause the pigment to precipitate and accelerate the aging process. Actually, lead would make the skin look very white, but it was very harmful to the skin. From small things like fendai to big things like clothes and jewelry, the princess was in charge of the entire Lu residence. She controlled the Lu residence's finances and was the main wife. Ning Shu opened the lipstick. The lipstick was bright red. Taking a whiff, it was fragrant. The lipstick was made from beef bone marrow. After the bone marrow had melted, wine soaked in clove and patchouli was poured into the pot and continued to fry. Then, a grass called artemisia was added to change the color. After the lipstick was fried, it was filtered with a cotton cloth. The final oil was placed in a porcelain bowl to condense. After it had completely solidified, it was the lipstick. During the production process, the fragrance would be added and the color would be covered. In short, Ning Shu felt that everything could have been smuggled in. The next night, Lu Hao finally didn't go to Madame Yin's courtyard. He went to accompany the princess. In the dead of night, Ning Shu took advantage of the fact that everyone was asleep to sneak into Madame Yin's courtyard. He found the place where Madame Yin had buried something and dug it out. Once he threw the soil away, Ning Shu smelled medicine. He dug it out and found a medicine bag. Ning Shu buried the soil and took the medicine bag back. He spread the medicine bag on the table and carefully identified the herbs. Ning Shu was a little surprised. He thought it was something harmful, but he didn't expect it to be pregnancy-stabilizing medicine. Medicine to prevent miscarriage. Could it be that Madame Yin was pregnant? But there was no news at all. If Madame Yin was pregnant but didn't mention it or announce it, then Madame Yin's client would have to be more careful. Especially in the first trimester, when the pregnancy was not stable, it would not be widely publicized. Madame Yin was pregnant and she was still clapping with Lu Hao. Wasn't she afraid that something would happen during the process? Ning Shu face-bombed. The client didn't know much about the matters in the backyard, so she didn't receive much information. Ning Shu had no idea how to deal with Lu Hao at the moment, but there were so many secrets in the backyard. Lu Hao, these women all love me. We're a family. Woman, fuck, I'll kill you, you little bitch. With the support of the system, Ning Shu didn't dare to act rashly. Every system had different functions. Some systems could turn their clients into fairies, some had the ability to detoxify, and some could scan the surroundings. In short, the system's abilities were ever-changing. Other than the host, no one else knew what the system's abilities were. Moreover, the system itself could develop more powerful abilities at any time. As long as there was enough luck, enough merit, and enough faith. Ning Shu collected the medicine bag on the table. After some thought, he decided to bury it back. Could Madame Yin have gone to the princess to save the child in her womb? Would it be useful to go to the princess? That was a slap in the face. Lu Hao had always thought that the women in his backyard were like biological sisters, but when one of them got pregnant, they were all trembling in fear. They didn't even dare to say anything or guarantee that they could give birth to the child. In the next few days, Ning Shu had nothing to do. Sometimes he would stroll to Madame Yin's courtyard and rest there. Madame Yin was a little uncomfortable when she saw Ning Shu, but she still asked the servants to serve tea. Ning Shu took a sip of tea and used his mental strength to scan Madame Yin's abdomen. He saw that she was indeed pregnant, but the fetus was now a cyst about the size of a silver coin. It hadn't formed yet. It should only be a little more than a month. Ning Shu took a sip of tea and put down the teacup. He said, "You don't seem to be in good spirits. Are you pregnant?" "I hid it when I was pregnant." When Madame Yin heard this, she almost jumped out of her chair. She looked as if she had been stung by a poisonous scorpion. "No, I'm not pregnant. Sister Pan, you must be joking." Madame Yin quickly denied. Ning Shu only said, "If anything happens, you must remember to tell Master. That will make him happy. I've been pregnant before and I know what it's like to be pregnant." Madame Yin forced a smile. "Sister Pan, I'm not pregnant." Ning Shu sighed faintly. "If my child was still here, it should be able to move now and stretch its arms and legs in the stomach." Madame Yin subconsciously clutched her stomach, her face turning paler. Ning Shu got up and left. There was no point in hiding it. There were too many eyes. If you didn't tell them, they would secretly take away your child. You wouldn't even have a place to cry. If you bled, the doctor could say that it was your period. Of course, there might be an accident if you told them. Anyway, it wasn't easy to be pregnant. Madame Yin was probably frightened by Ning Shu and told Lu Hao that she was pregnant immediately. Lu Hao was pleasantly surprised. He did not have many children. Pan Wenlan was pregnant and had a miscarriage. Even now, she was blaming him. He didn't want to see that resentful face. Now that someone was pregnant, Lu Hao was very happy. He didn't have many children these years. His colleagues' harems were all blooming, but he didn't have any children. Of course, Lu Hao refused to admit that there was something wrong with him. Now that a woman was pregnant, it proved that there was nothing wrong with his ability. To prevent Pan Wenlan's incident from happening again, Lu Hao asked Madame Yin to take care of the baby. She could ask the princess when she was free. After all, the princess had given birth before. Madame Yin's smile was a little forced. The news of Madame Yin's pregnancy spread like a gust of wind to every corner of the Lu residence. Some of the noble ladies wrung their handkerchiefs. How could these lowly women get pregnant? First, it was Pan Wenlan. She was just a merchant's daughter. Fortunately, she had a miscarriage. Now, she was just a singer. How could these people have the luck to get pregnant? Because of Madame Yin's pregnancy, the atmosphere in the backyard was a little strange. The princess was quite generous. When she heard that Madame Yin was pregnant, she immediately sent some things, such as jewelry, rouge, face powder, and clothes. /BK. Chapter 2559. In order to avoid trouble, the princess even found a doctor to check if there were any problems with these things. Madame Yin only accepted them after the doctor said that there were no problems. Looking at Madame Yin's behavior, Ning Shu felt that she was wary of the princess. Indeed, the princess was the only one in the mansion who had a child and no one else. It was inevitable that she would become the target of public criticism. In order to avoid any problems, the princess found a doctor first. Ning Shu looked on silently, hoping that the child in Madame Yin's belly was fine. Madame Yin's abnormal behavior also attracted Ning Shu's attention. Madame Yin was very guilty. Especially when facing her, she was very guilty. He should find a time to hypnotize Madame Yin. However, Madame Yin was very guarded now. She usually didn't leave the courtyard and didn't dare to interact with the other ladies in the backyard. She was so nervous that even Ning Shu felt tired for her. This was the sisterhood that Lu Hao mentioned. This was obviously a fake sisterhood. Since Madame Yin was pregnant, Lu Hao naturally had to spend a lot of time with her. This made the women in the backyard very unhappy. They wanted to clap with Lu Hao for love and strive to have children too. Lu Hao felt that the jealousy of these girls in the backyard was really unbearable. Of course, beautiful girls were especially cute when they acted coquettishly. If they weren't beautiful, they would be unreasonable. No matter how careful Madame Yin was, she still had a miscarriage. When Ning Shu heard the news, he sighed inwardly. It was really unexpected, because the food that Madame Yin ate every day was prepared by herself and her maids. In her own courtyard, she didn't go to the big kitchen. No one else had touched her food. All the women in the backyard gathered in Madame Yin's courtyard and heard a low groan from inside. Lu Hao felt that these women in his backyard got along so well. When something happened to one of them, they all came to visit. Ning Shu saw a flash of relief on Lu Hao's jade-like face and twitched his mouth. I can only say that you really don't understand a woman's heart. The princess frowned and said to Lu Hao, Old master, it will be fine. Sigh. Lu Hao glanced at Ning Shu, who was standing there. Previously, one of them had a miscarriage and now something happened. Why did things keep happening? Was it because his vitality was too weak? Was that why he kept having miscarriages? There were many reasons for infertility, such as the vitality and quantity of sperm. Lu Hao even suspected that he might be a dead spirit or a weak spirit. The doctor came out of the room and said something shocking. Madame isn't pregnant. Her period is here. Lu Hao, some of the women almost laughed. I don't think so. Lu Hao didn't believe it. Madame Yin had no reason to lie about something like this. The princess said, Madame Yin must have wanted to have a child so badly that she made such a fuss. Perhaps she wanted the old master to pay more attention to him. I'm fair to every woman in the harem. I don't want you to fight for my favor. My heart aches for all of you. Ning Shu was speechless. The princess sighed and said, That's why Sister Yin is so muddle-headed. For a princess, calling a singer sister was simply an insult. If this incident was treated as a farce, Madame Yin would be laughed at for a long time. Even though Lu Hao prided himself on being fair to everyone, Madame Yin had caused such a ruckus. Wasn't she accusing him of mistreating her? Therefore he was angry. As for Madame Yin, who was exhausted after the miscarriage, no one paid any attention to her. Previously she was the subject of all the women's jealousy. Now she was a pitiful little girl. Ning Shu returned to the courtyard. He couldn't figure out how Madame Yin had miscarried. She decocted the medicine herself and made the food herself. The maids around her were all her own people. How could she miscarry like this? Was it because of her body constitution? Ning Shu checked the jewelry, rouge and face powder. After being pregnant, the client and Madame Yin didn't touch these things. It was common knowledge in modern people that it wasn't good to put on heavy makeup during pregnancy. But these were the only things she could come into contact with. Sometimes, even if she was pregnant, she still wanted to put on some powder and lipstick in front of her husband. Ning Shu checked the rouge and face powder over and over again. He smelled it again and again until his nose was numb. Ning Shu poured the rouge and face powder into a cup and stirred it with chopsticks. He took out a silver hairpin and placed it inside to see if it would turn black. Generally speaking, heavy metals would turn silver black. The hairpin turned slightly black when it came in contact with water. These rouge and face powders contained a certain amount of lead and mercury. But one of the hairpins was very black. It was obvious that it exceeded the standard by a lot. Rubbing these things on one's face was definitely suicide. Ah, madam, this is the most popular facial cream in the residence. Madams like to use it. Every time you clean your face, you can rub a little on it to make your skin fair and tender, Xiao Cui said in surprise. And it was invented by Old Master. I heard that it was boiled with pig skin. Because Old Master invented it, the effects are good. Madams like to use it. Not only do they like to apply it on their faces, but they also like to apply it on their hands and feet. Ning Shu was speechless. Using collagen boiled from pig skin to rub one's face? But why did the hairpin turn black? Ning Shu felt that he might have found the root of the problem. The collagen boiled from pig skin must have been mixed with something. But with such a white and glossy cream, it would be discovered very quickly if something was mixed with it. Then the problem was with the pig skin. Then was the pig poisoned? Or even fed the pig some mercury? This kind of thing was in the pig's body. Mercury was very harmful to people. The madam of the brothel would mix mercury into the women's food as a way to prevent pregnancy. Mercury was enough to kill people, but it was too overkill to use it as a contraceptive. The women in the backyard used this kind of facial cream over a long period of time. The mercury would enter their bodies. Not to mention getting pregnant, they might not live for long. The bodies of pigs and humans could not digest mercury. It would accumulate in the body over a long period of time. Where did these facial creams come from? Ning Shu asked. The client really did not care about this kind of thing. Every time, the princess would give these facial creams to the madams. I heard that it was produced by the emperor for the princess's manor. The princess made this into facial cream and opened a shop. The business is quite good. Every month she would even give old master dividends. The princess is quite generous to the madams in the residence. She did not collect money. Every madam would get 2 bottles every month. Ning Shu was speechless. Sometimes, Ning Shu felt that he was thinking too much. But sometimes, things developed in the direction he wanted. What happened to the deep sisterly love? Plastic flowers' sisterly love. This princess was not so generous. In fact, the client even hated these women. However, the method was very sophisticated. It was not incense or anything. Mercury and its compounds could enter the human body through different routes such as the respiratory tract, skin, and digestive tract. The toxicity of mercury was accumulated and took a long time to show. The food chain had an extremely strong ability to accumulate mercury. For example, when pigs ate grass or water containing mercury, it would pass through the food chain to the human body. There was more mercury in the human body than in the pig body, and there was more in the pig body than in the grass/BK. Chapter 2563. Anyway, he didn't know what the princess said to Lu Hao, but Lu Hao suppressed this matter and told the madams in the backyard to let this matter go. It wouldn't be good for anyone if this matter blew up. All of the madams were stupefied and ran back to their mother's home in tears. It wasn't that Lu Hao believed this matter, or that he just wanted to keep the peace. There were so many women in the backyard of every rich family. The princess was harming all the noble women by doing this. When these women made a fuss, the men couldn't do anything. They all reported it to the imperial court. There were even censors who impeached the princess, saying that the princess's actions were embarrassing the imperial court. She had no virtue. The emperor was very conflicted. Lu Hao was rolled eyes by all his colleagues. Which woman in the backyard hadn't used that face cream? Lu Hao actually wanted to rebel and kill everyone. Even the concubines in the harem would occasionally use this kind of thing. After applying it, the skin was really moist and the effect was immediate. These concubines went to the emperor and whined in front of him. The emperor's head was about to explode. This daughter of his was really a headache. She was so deceitful. Previously, she wanted to be a concubine of a small official. Although she lied to herself that she was a co-wife, she wasn't a concubine. It was already very embarrassing. Now, she actually caused such a big matter. However, this daughter of his didn't have such guts. Although she was domineering, she wouldn't be so ignorant. It was very likely that she wanted to mess with the women in the backyard, but for some reason, someone must have added fuel to the fire. But no matter who added fuel to the fire, things had already come to this. If he didn't punish the princess, his anger wouldn't be quelled. The emperor was very unhappy. He was forced to punish his own child. No matter how wrong his child was, he could punish her however he wanted, but he was very unhappy to be forced to punish her like this. But he couldn't let his daughter become a divorcee. He couldn't afford to lose this face, so this daughter must be ruined in Lu Hao's hands. If Lu Hao didn't agree, Lu Hao, recently, this should be the biggest workplace crisis that Lu Hao had encountered. His colleagues around him were all picking on him. They were deliberately looking for trouble or ostracizing him. Sometimes, his colleagues would drink together after work to improve their friendship. Even if there was no friendship, there wouldn't be a deliberate situation. But now that he was in the same department, all the good things didn't come to him. Some difficult things fell to him. If there was anything that made the emperor angry, let him say it and let him face the roar of the evil dragon. There were also censors who accused him of not being strict with his family. There were no rules in the backyard, and it was a mess. It was only a matter of time before something happened. They even doubted Lu Hao's ability to work. If he couldn't even clean up his own backyard, how could he sweep the world if he didn't sweep the house? In any case, Lu Hao had no way to refute it. In any case, everyone kicks a man who is down. If he didn't do something and completely offended these colleagues, it would be especially difficult to work together. The days of being deliberately targeted were not good. A small matter could torment someone over and over again. But if he did anything to the princess's father, his boss, would have a big opinion of him. His future was almost gone. Lu Hao was caught between a rock and a hard place, and he was also very angry. He didn't expect the princess, who had always been dignified, elegant, and noble, to be so jealous. He was so jealous that he sterilized all the women in his backyard to play with heavy metal. Lu Hao came from the modern era and knew the power of these things too well. Lu Hao was now very glad that the pregnant women in the backyard had all miscarried. Otherwise, they would have given birth to idiotic and deformed children. That would be embarrassing. Moreover, the ancient people were superstitious. If there were any rumors, he wouldn't be able to complete the task. There were so many women in the backyard. Some of them had strong family backgrounds. If they didn't do anything, their family would be eyeing them covetously. But to the princess, Lu Hao shook his head. For the first time, Lu Hao felt that marrying so many awesome wives wasn't necessarily a good thing. Their family would be oppressive. Lu Hao locked himself in the study once he returned home. He didn't see any women. The entire Lu residence was in a strange atmosphere. Ning Shu ate and slept every day and didn't leave the residence. When he had nothing to do, he would tidy up his belongings. The princess went to the palace and came back in a sorry state. She saw that her courtyard was full of face cream that had been thrown by people. Some face cream spilled on the ground, and boxes were everywhere. The princess knew that these women in the backyard did it. She took a deep breath and asked people to quickly put these things away. She didn't want to touch these things. Ning Shu felt that the women in Lu Hao's backyard were quite pitiful. Their family backgrounds were strong, but even if they returned home, they would still suffer from rumors. They followed Lu Hao. After such a thing happened, they were disappointed in Lu Hao. Why didn't he punish the culprit? Wasn't he willing to do anything for the woman he loved? This matter made the people in the capital talk for a long time. At this time, some people immediately jumped out and said that the Lu residents had no rules. Without rules, something would definitely happen. Without a wife to manage, with all kinds of people mixed together, it would be strange if nothing happened to this family. The princess was called a vicious woman. There were wives who dealt with the concubines, but they didn't expect it to be so vicious. The shop couldn't continue operating. Moreover, this face cream was invented by Lu Hao. The fire was directed to Lu Hao. Accept the anger of many women. Although the shop sold normal products, no one believed it. Under the psychological effect, they felt that their faces were ruined and their bodies had all kinds of problems. The business of the medical centers in the capital was exceptionally good. They went to each family to take the pulse of the madams and young misses. Facing these accusations, the princess could only remain silent. Could it be that she only made these for the women of the Lu residence and didn't add anything else? But no matter what she said, it would be wrong. Perhaps it was because Lu Hao couldn't find anyone to chat with. He actually went to Ning Shu's courtyard. When he saw Ning Shu, he couldn't help but sigh and start to recall the past. Ning Shu, you probably forgot that I just had a miscarriage less than 2 months ago. Ning Shu asked, then what do you plan to do? No matter what I do. Now that he was facing a dilemma, he couldn't retreat. He could either offend his colleagues or offend his boss. How could an official be clean? If he was watched by his colleagues every day, he would be caught if he made any mistakes. No matter how careful he was, there would be times when he made mistakes. But if he offended the emperor, his career would end. The princess really knew how to cause trouble. Usually, he didn't see her unhappy with any woman, but she secretly caused such a big matter. /BK. Chapter 2564. Lu Hao sighed at Ning Shu's place, talking about how serious the problem was this time. Lu Hao was telling the truth, not exaggerating at all. But the more Ning Shu listened, the more she felt that something was wrong. What's the point of telling me this? I'm just a girl who doesn't leave the house and doesn't have any ability. It's useless even if you tell me. Lu Hao saw that Ning Shu's expression was unreadable, as if she wasn't affected by the mournful atmosphere. She took Ning Shu's hand and sighed. It really wasn't easy to come this far. Ning Shu grunted and didn't reply. If she did, she definitely wouldn't have anything good to say. Ning Shu vaguely guessed Lu Hao's intentions. Thinking of this possibility, Ning Shu's expression became a little ugly. I'm in a dilemma. I don't know what to do. Ning Shu's face was cold. If you don't know what to do you think I know that you don't know what to do? She was determined not to reply. Lu Hao saw that his wife wouldn't say anything even after being beaten 3 times. He said so much, but the other party didn't react at all. Lu Hao let go of Ning Shu's hand and picked up the tea to moisten his throat. Seeing that Ning Shu was still obedient, he couldn't help but ask, "What do you think about this matter?" Ning Shu's face was conflicted. "Husband, I don't know what to do either. I can't think of a way." Lu Hao took a deep breath. "I'll tell you the truth. This matter definitely can't be the princess." Ning Shu chuckled in her heart. Her face was blank. She couldn't understand what you were saying. You said that to find a scapegoat. Not only could you put out the fire, but you could also give the emperor an explanation. Sacrificing you would make the whole family happy. Lu Hao thought so in his heart. He asked the system how to resolve this matter. The system said to find a scapegoat. This matter couldn't be blown up. Lu Hao also couldn't bear it and insist on protecting the princess. It was better to change the direction and turn the matter around. The women in the backyard were either of low status and could not do such a thing, or their status was too high. They were the daughters of aristocratic families, and they were the victims. Seeing these people being pushed out, were they not treating others as fools? After thinking about it for a long time, he felt that there was a very suitable person. It was Pan Wenlan. Her family was a bit rich, but her background wasn't strong. It was normal for her to be jealous of these women. After her husband became rich, these women would flock to him and bear a grudge against him. Therefore, she did such a crazy thing. In addition, she was pregnant and had a miscarriage not long ago. Her mental state was stimulated and she even pushed the blame to the princess. Perfect. What Lu Hao could think of, Ning Shu understood as well. She was really a perfect scapegoat. Her logic and emotions made perfect sense. Ning Shu said with a confused face, "Husband, don't worry. Even if this matter is settled, the princess will be fine. She is the emperor's daughter, so don't worry. Rest assured my ass." Now, the anger of the courtiers needed someone to extinguish. The emperor was the most difficult to deal with. He had to give an explanation and protect his daughter. Fuck, it was so torturous. It was so difficult. Lu Hao was also helpless. He did not realize that such a vicious woman was before. If he poisoned these women today, would he be poisoned one day as well? However, Lu Hao was thinking too much. The princess could hurt anyone, but she would not hurt Lu Hao. The matter of sterilization should be dealt with directly from Lu Hao. If it was just one person, there was no need to do it one by one. Moreover, the women kept coming into the backyard like chives. There was clearly a simpler method, but she had to take such a big risk to get rid of these women in the backyard. This was all because of love. She could not bear to hurt Lu Hao. Moreover, if Lu Hao was crippled, who would the princess find to have children? Lu Hao went straight to the point and said, "Wenlan, you have to help me this time." Ning Shu lowered her head and said softly, "How can I help you? I can't help you." Lu Hao's low voice was bewitching. You only need to say that you did this. I will guarantee that you will be fine. Lu Hao was also very irritated. Logically speaking, Pan Wenlon should have followed his plan. He recalled the bitterness and thought of the sweetness. He also mentioned his current predicament. Pan Wenlon should have taken the initiative to say that she wanted to help him. Then he did not agree. Pan Wenlon insisted on helping. The two of them argued back and forth. He had no choice but to agree. Pan Wenlon risked her life for her husband. However, it did not follow the script at all. This made Lu Hao very frustrated. Taking the initiative to say it was different from forcing the other party to make a decision. If he forced the other party to change her mind at the last minute, he would go for wool and come home shorn. His good reputation would be gone. What Lu Hao wanted was for the other party to be willing to be sold and to help him count the money. Ning Shu lowered her head and twitched the corner of her mouth. She shook her head and said, "Husband, I can't help you with this matter." "Really?" But Lu Hao immediately held Ning Shu's hand. "Don't worry. You will be fine. It's just that this matter needs someone to divert attention so that the princess and I have time to secretly operate." "Ning Shu, I'm so stupid to believe you." He was clearly the one who pushed her out to die. Her reputation was in a mess. He even implicated the client's father and caused the client's father to be criticized behind his back. Being criticized behind his back was a small matter. Being spat on by others was a small matter. However, facing the hostility of the entire noble class, a merchant could be crushed with one finger. The client's father was really good to this daughter, whether it was in terms of living expenses or in terms of choosing a husband. When faced with a choice of benefits, a person's character could be seen. Clearly, Lu Hao was sacrificing her to protect himself. Moreover, he was not protecting the princess. Protecting the princess was because the princess's father was the emperor and determined his future and fate. If it were not for the princess, he would have taken measures and pushed her out long ago. Ning Shu tilted her head and asked Lu Hao, "Then what should I do?" "So you agree?" Lu Hao was very happy. "You just need to admit that you did this." Ning Shu said, "I can do this, but I have a condition. That is to avenge my child." "Child?" Lu Hao finally realized that she was talking about the child that had been aborted. "This was done by the princess. You have to avenge our child. She has passed away." Lu Hao suppressed the annoyance in his heart and said to Ning Shu patiently, "There's no point in arguing about this now. But I'm not satisfied. If you can't do it, then I won't agree to this matter. I used my life to pave the way for you, but you won't even agree to such a small wish. How can I be satisfied?" Ning Shu covered her face and seemed to be crying. Lu Hao thought that it made sense. In order to make a horse run like a horse eating grass, he had to give it some benefits. Only then would it be willing to work for him. "Then what do you want?" Lu Hao asked, /BK. Chapter 2565. As long as it wasn't an excessive request, Lu Hao felt that he could agree to it. Treat it as his last wish. Lu Hao knew very well that Pan Wenlon, who was pushed out, would die. Even if she died, she would still be criticized behind her back. Her reputation would be tarnished for a long time. She was the best spokesperson for vicious women. "Do you want to kill the princess's child?" Lu Hao asked in disbelief. "I don't have a child, so I want to kill your child and let you feel the pain of losing a child." Were all these women so terrifying? Ning Shu's mouth twitched. Was she so vicious? What did a child less than 2 years old know? Find the person who did it. Ning Shu took a sip of tea and said directly, "My request is very simple. Since she sterilized all the sisters in the backyard and even harmed her body, then let her be sterilized too." Shouldn't she be punished for doing something wrong? She wanted someone to take the blame for her, but she could still live well and have many children with Lu Hao in the future. Ning Shu secretly looked at Lu Hao's crotch. Should he deal with it? However, Lu Hao had a system in his body, so he couldn't act rashly. Lu Hao almost choked on his saliva. He looked at Ning Shu in horror. Were all women so vicious? "Ning Shu, you push someone out as a scapegoat. You're not vicious." Lu Hao was a little hesitant. It seemed impossible to sterilize the princess like this. Moreover, the princess was such a proud person. How could she let others hurt her? Why don't you change your request? Lu Hao asked Ningxu. If he did this to the princess and she ran back to the palace to make a fuss, the emperor would be unhappy with him again. Moreover, how bad would it be if the news of his wife being sterilized spread? This really gave him a big problem. I only have this one wish. I don't care about anything else. The child I've been looking forward to for so many years is gone. Do you know how desperate I am? Ningxu didn't back down. Lu Hao thought to himself that he shouldn't have asked her. It wasn't good to just put the blame on her. It made her so passive now. Ningxu saw the flicker in Lu Hao's eyes and said directly, "Anyway, I don't care. I'd rather die in glory than live in dishonor. Sometimes I can really do anything." When Lu Hao heard his wife's threat, he immediately felt helpless and angry. He felt that the current Pan Wenlon was different from the Pan Wenlon of the past. In the past, Pan Wenlon would not have been so stubborn. "Then I'll discuss it with the princess," Lu Hao said. Ningxu bowed and sent Lu Hao off respectfully. He would go and discuss with the woman whether she should sterilize him. The woman would probably give him a big slap. Lu Hao had too many worries in his heart, and the burden on his body was also very heavy. There were too many things he needed to consider, and all of them were for his official career. Unknowingly, Lu Hao had already become the system's slave. Lu Hao's only thought was to be promoted and complete the mission. Under the system's rewards and guidance, he would become a winner in life. Ningxu felt that he was very similar to Lu Hao, but he didn't have such a mandatory requirement. Lu Hao relied on the system. Without the system, Lu Hao might not have any confidence at all. Ningxu stretched and used his mental strength to scan the entire Lu residence. He saw Lu Hao pacing back and forth at the entrance of the princess's courtyard, but he didn't enter. It was the princess's maid who saw Lu Hao and welcomed him in. When the princess saw that Lu Hao was still willing to come to her courtyard, she was very happy. She hurriedly asked the servants to prepare tea and snacks. She was so excited that she didn't know what to do. When Lu Hao saw that the princess, who was usually such a proud person, had red eyes, his heart softened. He said to her, "Don't be in such a hurry. Sit down. I have something to tell you." The princess sat down obediently. Seeing Lu Hao's serious expression, she felt a little uneasy, but she still listened to Lu Hao. Lu Hao told the princess everything that had happened. Then he looked at the princess. "What do you think?" The princess looked as if she had been struck by lightning. She was almost petrified. Then her face was filled with anger. "What right does she have to blame me for her failure to keep the child? You even want her to be sterilized? Dream on." Ningxu was speechless. Anyway, she had plenty of ways. No matter what the princess did, Lu Hao knew that this would be her reaction. Not to mention a woman, if one day someone said that they wanted to cripple him, it would be strange if he didn't beat that person up. "Darling Lu, this matter is actually very easy to do. Since Pan Wenlon is willing to take the blame, then find some witnesses and some people in the manor to testify. Whether she agrees or not, this matter is confirmed for her. So what if she doesn't agree? So what if she agrees?" The princess said directly. Since they were already fighting for real, there was no need to care about face. Since she was going to be sterilized, there was no need to be polite with her. But if she makes a fuss, the risk is too great. Lu Hao shook his head and said, "If she doesn't confess willingly, others will think of it." If Pan Wenlon could confess, no matter how dissatisfied these people were, there was nothing to say. On the one hand, if they insisted on convicting her, but the criminal refused to confess, wouldn't that be a topic for gossip? In any case, Lu Hao wanted to do things perfectly. "If I let you die, you have to remember my kindness." The princess immediately lost her momentum and looked at Lu Hao with red eyes. "Are you really going to do this?" "Of course not. We can put on a show for her to see and fulfill her wish." Lu Hao looked at the princess with a straight face. "Also, don't do such a thing in the future. No matter what, these are my women." The princess' nails dug into her palms, but she said sadly, "I did all this because I love you." Lu Hao's heart softened again. No matter how vicious a woman was, it was all because she loved him. Lu Hao and the princess agreed to put on a show and treat it as doing a good deed to fulfill Pan Wenlan's wish before she died. Then, Lu Hao went back and forth to tell Ning Shu that he would sterilize the princess and that he could rest assured. Ning Shu said with some surprise, she agreed. After all, the princess was wrong in this matter. She should be punished, Lu Hao said. Ning Shu said, then I will watch her and see that she is indeed punished. Lu Hao was speechless. Why were these women so difficult to deal with? Even the class was difficult. Even in ancient times, the officialdom was not so tiring. Lu Hao nodded. Okay, I'll have to trouble you this time. Don't worry, your life won't be in danger. It wasn't like he was stupid enough to think that there wasn't any danger. Promise that there was no danger to her life, but won't tell me that there was danger? Lu Hao got someone to brew a bowl of medicine and told Ning Shu that it was a bowl of safflower. If she drinks this, she probably won't be able to have children in the future, Lu Hao said. /BK. How dare you? The princess slapped Ning Shu's hand away and coldly said, who do you think you are? You dare to touch me with your hand? Ning Shu took 2 steps back and looked at the princess. Why wouldn't I dare? You were originally a concubine. Lu Hao and I are officially husband and wife. Even now, we still have a marriage certificate. Do you have a marriage certificate? What was a marriage certificate? The entire imperial court belonged to her family. It was as easy as flipping one's hand to get a marriage certificate. Using this matter as an example, it was simply a joke. The princess opened her mouth and was about to speak when she felt a sharp pain in her stomach. It was as if a hammer had hit her. She couldn't help but bend over and hold her stomach. The princess felt something break in her body. There was a pop. Then, her stomach felt like it was being twisted around by a steel knife. Her entire body was in so much pain that she was sweating. The princess felt very bad. It was as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out. Princess, are you okay? Ning Shu reached out to support the princess and whispered into her ear, hubby said that the act was just to deceive you. You drank an entire bowl of red flour. The princess felt as if she had been struck by lightning. There was no trace of blood on her face. Her lips trembled as she gritted her teeth. That's impossible. She said that it was an act, but the pain in her stomach reminded her that she really drank the red flour. Lu Hao wouldn't do this to her. He wouldn't. Do you really think that hubby isn't angry at you? Of course he is, but you are a princess. If he really divorced you, his future would be gone. Otherwise, why do you think he tolerates you? You made his harem empty and caused him to offend so many of his colleagues. The women in his harem are either singers, dancers, or daughters of aristocratic families. Their family backgrounds can crush hubby. Even if I have to take the blame for this matter, hubby won't be able to take it. I've been with hubby for 10 years. I know what he's thinking, Ning Shu said calmly. The princess held her stomach. It was so painful that her vision turned black. You're lying to me. That's impossible. Impossible. How is it impossible? Also, you can poison the women in your harem. One day you can poison him. He doesn't want a poisonous woman to give birth to his child. Ning Shu supported the princess. Go in and lie down. How can I bear to hurt him? How can I bear to? The princess was in so much pain that her steps faltered. Ning Shu grabbed her arm and she couldn't break free. She couldn't bear to hurt Lu Hao and kill the women in the harem. If it was Ning Shu, he would make Lu Hao die. Then they wouldn't be able to have children. Wouldn't it be good for them to be in the same boat? Because of love. Ning Shu looked into the princess' eyes and said, if it wasn't for his own bright future, do you really think he would be willing to keep you? If your father wasn't the emperor, do you really think he wouldn't dare to divorce you? One day, he will abandon you like he abandoned me. No, no. The princess held her head. It was so painful that it felt like it was going to split open. Thousands of feelings surged in her heart. There was also the anger of being betrayed. She said she was acting for Pan Wenlan, but she was forced to drink the safflower. She was ridiculed by Pan Wenlan, this lowly woman. No, impossible. The princess was in so much pain that her body curled into a ball. Her stomach hurt so much that it felt like countless needles were stabbing her. There was also pain in her heart. The pain of being betrayed. Princess, princess. When the maid saw the princess like this, she was scared out of her wits. Ning Shu said, "Go find a doctor for your princess." After the maid ran away, Ning Shu said to the princess again, "Even if there were 10 doctors, or even 100 doctors, they wouldn't be able to cure you. You would be like us, unable to have children." Lowly servant. The princess looked at Ning Shu with red eyes. Ning Shu sighed. "In the end, my husband told me the truth. He was just using you. I was willing to pave the way for my husband's bright future. In order to fulfill my wish, I didn't hesitate to lie to you. Even if I die, I will remain in his heart. A living person can't be compared to a dead person." Nonsense, she wouldn't remain in his heart. /BK. Chapter 2567. What do you mean by keeping it in your heart? What do you mean by keeping it in your heart? But now, the princess was clearly falling for it. She was so angry that she almost vomited blood. "Pan Wenlun, you lowly servant." Ning Shu wanted to dig his ears. Over and over again, this was the only curse he could think of. "Seeing you like this, I can finally die with satisfaction and avenge my child. But you will always live under my shadow." Ning Shu smiled shyly. "I am very satisfied to be able to use this method to make Master remember me." Ning Shu's heart did not waver at all when he said this. He even wanted to laugh out loud. Ning Shu stared into the princess's eyes. Her eyes were deep and unfathomable. "Even if you are the princess, you still have to live under my shadow. When I am alive, I am Lu Hao's wife. When I am dead, I am paving the way for his future." The princess's entire body was trembling. She was in pain and anxious. "I don't believe your words." "It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. In a few days I will confess. Originally, it was you, the princess, who did it. But I have to admit that I did it." Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't believe it." The princess's expression was already wavering. She kept saying things that even she did not believe. "And even if you confront hubby, he will not admit it. Because offending and hurting the royal family is a serious crime. For his own future, he will not admit it even if he dies. Actually, if you ask hubby, you will only be hurt again. I am the one who has been with hubby for 10 years. After Ning Shu said this sentence, she did not know why this body suddenly gave birth to an inexplicable feeling of pleasure. Ning Shu, could it be that the client had always wanted to say this, but did not have the courage or confidence to say it? The princess was anxious and in pain. She fainted. Ning Shu felt that he was an evil female supporting character who sowed discord and caused a misunderstanding between the two. Buddha is merciful. After leaving the princess's courtyard, he went directly to find Lu Hao. He said to him, "I saw the princess drink it. I think the medicine is harmful to the body. It messed up the princess's menstrual cycle." "What?" Lu Hao was puzzled. "The princess seems to be bleeding. I'm not sure about the details. You'll have to ask the doctor." Lu Hao felt that her period must have come. That bowl of medicine was an ordinary tonic, and it was brewed by his manservant who stayed close to him. It couldn't be wrong. Then this matter? Lu Hao looked at Ning Shu and asked. Ning Shu said, "Don't worry. I will definitely confess. But give me some time. Let me copy some Buddhist scriptures and burn them for the child." "Sure, but we don't have much time." Perhaps because his wife of 10 years was about to die, Lu Hao sighed and held Ning Shu's hand. "Thank you. I'll say thank you and then let you die. Are you willing?" Ning Shu only smiled and did not say anything. When he returned to his courtyard, Xiao Cui welcomed him with a serious expression. She poured some tea for Ning Shu and said with a trembling voice, "Miss, don't do anything stupid." Ning Shu looked at Xiao Cui and felt that this girl was actually quite intelligent. "It's okay. I know what I'm doing." "Miss, you have to think about Master. Master only has one daughter." Ning Shu said, "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Go and prepare the food." I'm hungry. Xiao Chui worriedly went to prepare the food. Lu Hao went to the princess's courtyard and saw the princess lying on the bed in a cold sweat. Her stomach was in so much pain that she couldn't stand it. Lu Hao sat by the bed and asked, "Does it still hurt? Use the water bottle to warm it up." The princess opened her eyes weakly and saw Lu Hao speaking with a normal expression as if nothing had happened. Pan Wenlan's voice kept echoing in her ears, over and over again. Now this man actually had the nerve to ask her how her body was. "You gave me safflower. You gave me safflower." The princess teared up and questioned Lu Hao weakly. "What are you talking about? What's safflower?" "No, it's a tonic." As expected, he wouldn't admit it. The princess felt as if her heart was pierced by thousands of arrows. Lu Hao frowned. "What are you doing?" Looking at her expression, she seemed to have misunderstood something. "What's going on? Explain it clearly." "You gave me safflower." Lu Hao almost wanted to scold her. "Are you crazy? You want to drink this kind of thing so much?" The princess was so angry that she almost fainted. If she didn't drink safflower, her body wouldn't be like this. She was already like this, and he was still denying it. "Am I a tool for you to chase after power?" The princess said with her back facing him. Sometimes people were like this. It was clearly their advantage, but they insisted on treating it as their burden. "Do you love me because I'm rich? Do you love me because I'm handsome?" Lu Hao, you must have gotten your period into your brain. What was she doing? This matter hadn't been solved yet. She had caused such a big mess, and he was thinking of a way to solve it for her. What was wrong with this guy? The princess looked at Lu Hao's cold face. She couldn't suppress the grievance and pain in her heart. For Lu Hao, she became a concubine and wronged herself. But Lu Hao treated her like this because of Pan Wenlan's wish. It was more likely a plan to kill two birds with one stone. He let Pan Wenlan convict her and used this method to punish her. Just as Pan Wenlan said, Lu Hao was very angry. The princess didn't want to believe that bitch Pan Wenlan's words, but everything that happened in front of her made her believe it. The princess felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Lu Hao was stared at by the princess with fear, hatred, and despair. He suddenly felt that the princess was crazy. From the beginning until now, he had never blamed her. Instead, she looked at him with such a gaze. Lu Hao flung his sleeves and left. From the princess's point of view, Lu Hao was guilty and didn't dare to face her. If he explained it to her clearly, she could tolerate anything. She poisoned other women, but in the end, she was drugged by her husband. The pain in her stomach was like her intestines were being pulled around and tied into a bow. It was so painful that her whole body was convulsing. A weak moan came from the princess's mouth. The princess, who had suffered a blow, felt that there was nothing left to live for. The princess loved Lu Hao so much. Now that she was betrayed, she hated him so much. The pain in her stomach reminded her how cold and heartless this man was. He didn't love her. The one he loved was that old Pan Wenlan who couldn't even give birth to a child. That night, the princess's courtyard was brightly lit. Maids came and went, carrying basins in and out. Everyone was guessing what had happened. Did something happen to the princess? If something really happened, it would be very satisfying. These women in the backyard hated the princess to death. If it wasn't for the princess, they would probably want to tear the princess apart. The princess wasn't doing well at all now. The pain in her stomach didn't lessen at all. She was suffering in hell. /BK. Chapter 2568. The princess was in pain the entire night and couldn't sleep. The princess's courtyard was brightly lit until dawn. After one night, the princess looked like she had lost a lot of weight. The next morning, she hurriedly took a sedan back to the palace. She might have gone to complain, or she might have gone back to the palace to see the imperial doctor. In short, the princess was in so much pain that she couldn't stand. She met Lu Hao at the door. Lu Hao saw that the princess was going out early in the morning and asked, "Where are you going?" The princess looked at Lu Hao. His face was as white as jade and he was wearing an official's robe. She thought about how she was tossing and turning in bed in pain and how she couldn't have children in the future. When she saw how calm Lu Hao was, She was so angry that her intestines were churning. She sat in the sedan with a belly full of anger. Lu Hao, your body isn't good. Don't go out. Let the servants boil some medicine for you to drink. The princess chuckled and entered the palace. Lu Hao, what was wrong with her? Women were unreasonable when they were on their period. When the princess reached the palace and found her biological father, she cried a mess. The grievance in her heart and the pain in her body made the princess explode when she saw her father. The emperor saw that she was sweating from the pain and quickly called the imperial doctor to take a look. How did his daughter become like this? Although this daughter always caused trouble, she was still his daughter. The imperial doctor couldn't figure out what was wrong with the princess, but he used acupuncture to stop the pain. The princess sobbed and told the emperor what happened. Of course, she emphasized that Lu Hao made her drink safflower for Panwanlan. Although a bowl of safflower wasn't enough to make her unable to have children, this was an attitude that showed what kind of person Lu Hao was. The princess said aggrievedly that Lu Hao married her for his future. The emperor was furious when he heard this. After scolding Lu Hao for a while, he calmed down and asked, I remember that Lu Hao has such a wife, but I don't believe that he would hurt you, a princess, for a merchant's daughter. Did water enter Lu Hao's brain? The princess's expression flickered. Of course, she didn't say the reason. The emperor saw the princess's evasive gaze and knew that there was a secret. The princess saw that she couldn't hide it anymore. Under the emperor's repeated threats, she finally told him the whole thing. The emperor, great. His daughter was so angry that someone used such a method to take revenge on her. I will deal with this matter. The emperor sighed and said, do you really like Lu Hao? No, I hate him. It was obviously a lie. Then how about I remove Lu Hao from his position? The emperor asked. The princess was stunned. Imperial father, you can't remove Lu Hao from his position. She hated Lu Hao, but if Lu Hao was removed from his position, Lu Hao would probably hate her to death. There was no more room for negotiation. The eunuchs in the palace sent a message to the Lu mansion, saying that the emperor wanted to see Panwanlan. The emperor summoned her? Ning Shu thought of the princess who entered the palace early this morning. The real battle had begun. Ning Shu asked Xiao Cui to prepare better clothes for him to meet the emperor. In fact, the chances of success in this matter were not very high. The emperor was the princess's father. If he did not protect his own daughter, would he protect her, the person who made his daughter a concubine? Xiao Cui was very worried and asked worriedly, Miss, why did the emperor summon you to the palace? I don't know. We'll know when we get to the palace. Xiao Cui tidied Ning Shu's dress, her hands trembling. She followed Ning Shu out of the Lu mansion. Ning Shu sat on the sedan and headed in the direction of the imperial palace. Ning Shu propped up his chin. The client's status was indeed very low. She was the daughter of a merchant. If it wasn't for Lu Hao's misgivings about his reputation, the client would probably have fallen long ago. Lu Hao boasted that he treated all beauties like this and would not abandon the women who had been with him. Lu Hao's goal was to control the world and lie drunk on the knees of beauties. Arriving at the palace gates, Ning Shu got off the sedan and saw Lu Hao standing there. Seeing Ning Shu, he walked over and whispered to Ning Shu, there will be a chance later. Ning Shu understood Lu Hao's words. Later, she would admit to the emperor that everything was done by her. Ning Shu only said, Husband, do you know why the princess entered the palace early in the morning? Will she speak ill of you? Why? Lu Hao couldn't understand why the princess would speak ill of him. When we face the emperor later, we'll explain everything clearly. Lu Hao and Ning Shu entered the palace together. Led by the eunuch, they arrived at the main hall. The eunuch went in for a while and then came out to let them in. Ning Shu stepped over the tall red threshold and walked into the main hall. He felt an indescribable sense of suppression and solemnity. Ning Shu lowered his head and followed behind Lu Hao with small steps. Greetings to the emperor. Long live the emperor. Lu Hao knelt down and bowed. Ning Shu also knelt down and shouted, Long live the emperor. Does the Lu family know why I am looking for you? Lu Hao kept thinking. Hearing the emperor's voice, he did not seem happy. It was very tiring to read the thoughts of an emperor. Lu Hao felt that it had something to do with the princess entering the palace early in the morning. Had the princess told the emperor about this beforehand and told him that everything was done by Pan Wenlon? Why didn't she tell him beforehand? Chapter 2569. This is the first time the subject's wife has seen the emperor's face, and there won't be another chance like this in the future, so this subject's wife dares to see the emperor's face. Ning Shu kowtowed. Can the emperor leave this subject's corpse intact? Also, this subject's husband knows nothing about this matter, so please don't vent your anger on him. It wasn't easy for my husband to go from a country boy to a pillar of the country. The emperor, you've already said everything, what else do you want Zhen to say? The emperor coughed. So you admit that you did all these things in the inner courtyard. This subject's wife said, whatever the emperor says is true. Ning Shu prostrated on the ground with an expression that said, do whatever you want. Lu Hao tightly furrowed his brows, then knelt down with a plop. Emperor, this subject's wife came from the country and has shallow knowledge. She only did this because of jealousy and hatred. Please be lenient. Even the princess endured the pain in her stomach and came to the main hall. She knelt down and cried, Father Emperor, you must uphold justice for your daughter. It seemed that her previous FFF didn't work. At the critical moment, these two people were still singing the same tune. Even though the princess seemed to hate Lu Hao, when it concerned Lu Hao's future, she didn't dare to make a fuss. So what if she was the princess? Here, the husband and wife were honored. The princess, whose body was hurt, now had to cling to Lu Hao even more, not to mention that the two of them had a daughter. The emperor only felt a headache. Looking at Ning Shu prostrating on the ground, he said lightly, lock up Pan Wenlon for now. Ning Shu was very calm. He had thought of this when he entered the palace. Two guards grabbed Ning Shu's arms, one on the left and one on the right, and dragged Ning Shu away. Ning Shu looked at Lu Hao and said, Husband, as long as you're well. Emperor, please leave my corpse intact. Ning Shu was locked up in the prison. There was a damp and stinky smell in the room. When these prisoners saw Ning Shu, they all laughed. Xiao Cui was guarding the palace gates. Seeing that only the master came out and no young miss, her heart beat like thunder. Something must have happened to the young miss. Stealthily he slipped away. According to the young miss's request, these little beggars began to sing the nursery rhymes that they had made up. In the nursery rhyme, Lu Hao loved power and married the princess. The princess had harmed so many people, but he wanted his wife to take the blame. His child was killed by the princess, but he could only watch helplessly. They were afraid of offending the princess. Seeing the princess harm so many people, they didn't dare to say anything. They were afraid of offending the emperor and losing their glory and wealth. The nursery rhyme was catchy and had a high popularity. For this nursery rhyme, Ning Shu had almost exhausted all of his artistic cells. Moreover, she could play games and skip rope while singing. He couldn't possibly kill all the children who were singing these things, right? Furthermore, some children did not even know where the songs came from. Just like when he was young, he listened to the songs but did not know where they came from. These songs could cause Lu Hao's lofty image to crumble. He didn't even dare to call her a princess after she miscarried his child. He even said that he would risk his life for his woman. When Xiao Cui arrived at the jewelry shop, she asked the shopkeeper to close the shop and hide for a while. At the same time, she asked the shopkeeper to find the old master and tell him not to come to the capital. The young miss came out very quickly. Of course, these things were all instructed by the young miss. Most of the valuable items in the fu were moved to the shop. Some of the valuable items were used as banknotes. Xiao Cui carried a food box with a sumptuous meal inside. She nodded at the prison guard and said that she was only here to deliver food. Xiao Cui walked into the prison and saw the idiot in the prison staring at her and laughing. It was dirty and smelly, very disgusting. Thinking that the young miss was going to be locked up here, Xiao Cui's heart was about to break. Young miss. Xiao Cui saw that Ning Shu was dressed in brocade clothes but sitting in such a dirty place. She felt that the young miss really had a hard life. Ning Shu opened her eyes and walked in front of Xiao Cui. Xiao Cui quickly opened the food box and handed the bowl to Ning Shu. Young miss, eat something first. This servant has already done what the young miss said. Ning Shu chewed on a drumstick and said, since you've already done it, then hurry up and leave this place. Find a place to hide. You probably won't have good days when you return to the Fu. I'll give you the slave contract later. Young miss, Lu Hao is a heartless man. Enough, it's useless to say this. Ning Shu grabbed the dried grass on the ground and wiped her hands. She took out the slave contract. Take it. Thank you, young miss. But this servant will wait for young miss to come out. Ning Shu finished all the food in the food box and then told Xiao Cui to leave quickly. Xiao Cui took the food box and left. Ning Shu burped and then sat cross-legged to cultivate. The food that she ate had a trace of energy, but it was very small. Ning Shu waited here for the matter to ferment. It was not rational to go against the feudal ruling class with the greatest power. Ning Shu had to weigh whether he could win against thousands of soldiers and horses. Even if he could win against thousands of soldiers and horses, where was the person who commissioned him? All the land under the heavens belonged to the king. Where could he escape to? The person who commissioned him would probably be scared to tears when he returned. The princess's greatest support was the emperor. If something happened to the emperor, the princess would lose her support. Ning Shu rubbed his chin and thought. Should he be poisoned to death or struck by lightning? Or struck by lightning? The ancient people were superstitious. But how could he summon lightning from the heavens? Even if he pointed at the heavens and scolded them, there might not be a reaction. Ning Shu spent his days leisurely in the prison, but the situation outside was not good. Firstly, the nursery rhyme had spread throughout the capital. Even the courtiers were talking to the emperor about it. Secondly, the princess's abdominal pain was very painful at the beginning. Although it was not that painful now, it was still painful. It was so painful that she could not eat or sleep well. When she heard the nursery rhyme, she was even angrier. The women in the backyard were all in danger. None of them had a higher status than the princess. If something happened one day, would they also be pushed out to take the blame? Although they did not like Pan Wenlan very much, with Pan Wenlan's personality, she would not do such a thing. And such a big project, poisoning and doing all kinds of things, Pan Wenlan did not have such power. She felt some regret in her heart. She thought that she had married a good man. She did not expect that Lu Hao was no different from other men. But they had already married Lu Hao. There was no other way out in this life. If the princess was here, they would live in fear of being controlled by the princess for the rest of their lives. They would be pushed out to take the knife at any time. Pan Wenlan had been with Lu Hao for 10 years, but Lu Hao still made a choice after weighing the pros and cons. But if something like this happened in the future, they might be the ones to be abandoned. Especially the madams who had low status in the backyard. They were even more uneasy. Some of the noble ladies went back to their parents' home to cry. It was such an obvious thing. Was the emperor still protecting the princess? Was there still any law? Was he going to let the princess do as she pleased? /BK. Chapter 2570. Sometimes, power made people feel helpless. The most honorable person in the world was the emperor. If he wanted to protect someone, what could you do? Moreover, this matter wasn't enough to cause a commotion in the imperial court. It was just a family matter of a fourth-rank official. At most, they could say that Lu Hao didn't manage his family well and that he shouldn't think about his future. The emperor also had a headache. A family matter could be messed up like this. Now, the outside world was saying that he was an incapable ruler. Good things didn't go out, but bad things would travel 1,000 miles. The things he did that benefited the country and the people were all covered up by this matter. His daughter cheated her father and cheated her husband. If he didn't deal with it impartially, he would be an incapable ruler. Lu Hao. Was it a trend to look for a father recently? The princess looked for a father, and the women in the backyard all looked for a father. These women's fathers were either nobles or high-ranking officials. When they saw him, they all picked on him, ignored him, or mocked him. How good was Lu Hao's reputation before? How bad was Lu Hao's reputation now? Everyone knew that he covered up the princess crime. You even pushed your wife out to take the blame. You're great. Forget it, you even made it known to the whole city. What glorious thing did you do to make such a big fuss? Lu Hao was very worried that the emperor would turn this matter around because of public opinion. If Lu Hao felt a little guilty towards his wife, Pan Wenlan, then now he only hoped that this matter could be settled. Carrying the food box to the prison cell, he saw his wife sitting in a pile of dry grass. Her clothes were already dirty. Husband. Ning Shu looked at Lu Hao. Lu Hao's appearance made Ning Shu's heart cold. Although she didn't leave the prison cell, she could more or less guess the situation outside. Lu Hao probably came to deal with her. Lu Hao had the prison guard open the prison cell door and carried the food box in. Lu Hao didn't mind at all. He sat on the damp grass like Ning Shu. There were some insects and rats crawling in front of him. In short, this was a place where one couldn't step on. How could Pan Wenlan, who had never suffered much since she was young, endure this? Lu Hao felt his heart go numb, and he felt a lot more empty. However, there were some things that couldn't be taken back. Lu Hao opened the food box and placed the plate on the ground. He took out a pair of chopsticks and handed it to Ning Shu. Wenlan, eat something. Ning Shu looked at the sumptuous dishes and asked, "Is this my last meal?" "No, I'm here to see you." Lu Hao shook his head. Ning Shu shook his head. "Hubby, I can't eat such greasy food. The food I've been eating here hasn't been good recently. I'm afraid I won't be able to take it if I suddenly eat greasy food. What if there was poison in it?" Lu Hao wanted to kill his wife. Then drink some soup. Lu Hao scooped out a bowl of light soup from the soup pot. Ning Shu didn't refuse, but when he took the bowl, he didn't notice that the bowl of soup fell to the ground. Ning Shu immediately apologized. "Sorry, my hand was a little shaky." "It's all right." Lu Hao wiped the soup off his body and said to Ning Shu with melancholy, "If I had a choice, I'd rather be an ordinary couple with you, working from dawn to dusk. I won't let you suffer like this. It's starting again." Ning Shu didn't buy this kind of warm-hearted talk. Ning Shu only listened. In the end, he recalled Lu Hao's memories and said, "Hubby, don't worry. I'll remember everything you asked me to do." Lu Hao's memories were stuck in his throat. In the end, he talked about the situation and how the outside world was talking about him. The current Lu Hao wasn't below one person. No matter what the people said about him, it was fine. However, he was only a fourth-rank official now. He wasn't at the stage where he could cover the sky with one hand. In short, you should commit suicide. You're committing suicide to escape punishment. Ning Shu, what right did Lu Hao have to insult people like this? She was here for the future. Besides, she could still cultivate in the prison. Because she was the wife of a fourth-rank official, no one did anything to her. Ning Shu didn't say anything. Lu Hao thought that Ning Shu agreed and took away the plate. He deliberately left a chopstick behind. When Lu Hao left, he looked hesitant. After pausing for a moment, he strode away. Ning Shu played with his chopsticks. The client could really get rid of this man. Not to mention relying on him, but at the crucial moment he would take the bullet for her. Moreover, there was a first time and a second time. Who could take being abandoned time and time again? Maybe Lu Hao hesitated and couldn't bear it, but in the end he made a choice. When the benefits were big enough, one could give up. This matter became more and more serious. Lu Hao was affected badly. The emperor told him to stop working and reflect at home. Ning Shu was also locked up. He didn't let her out or execute her. He just dragged it on. Dragging it on. However, the officials were unhappy. They wanted the emperor to punish their daughter. Even if the emperor did punish her, he would still settle the score. However, the women in the family were making a fuss. They said that they used the face cream from the princess shop and were sick all over. Pushing out an innocent woman wasn't enough to vent their anger. To be able to become the wife of a big family, the daughters they raised weren't fools. If they couldn't see the situation clearly, fighting in the backyard would only result in death. On the other hand, the censor used Lu Hao's lack of discipline to attack the princess. The censor was punished for not saying anything. The emperor felt that if this matter dragged on, it wouldn't be a problem. He might as well solve it. Hence, one morning, Ning Shu was brought out of the prison and changed into a clean set of clothes to meet the emperor. The princess and Lu Hao were also in the court. In just 10 days, the princess had lost a lot of weight. Even her cheekbones were popping out. Her face was pale and her forehead was covered in cold sweat. Ning Shu calmly knelt down and bowed. When Lu Hao saw that Ning Shu didn't commit suicide, his expression became a little twisted. He felt that this brat didn't keep his promise. He said that he would commit suicide, but he didn't do it. The emperor asked for the opinions of the officials present. Most of them wanted to punish the princess. Some people protected Lu Hao for their daughters or sisters. If Lu Hao became a useless person, the girls in their family would also suffer. Ning Shu's hands were in his long sleeves. He clasped his hands together and formed seals. As for whether or not he could set the palace on fire, no one knew. Ning Shu absorbed the power of the blazing sun. If the power of the blazing sun was used properly, it could burn some objects. Who would it burn? Of course it would be the man on the dragon throne. The officials argued back and forth. Some honest officials said that there was a problem with Lu Hao's character. Some said that the princess didn't deserve to be a wife and was crazy with jealousy. Lu Hao and the princess didn't look good. They seemed to have become street rats that everyone wanted to beat up. The princess felt indignant. She was a princess. These people's glory and wealth were all given by her father. They were the servants of the royal family. How could a servant question the master's actions? /BK. Chapter 2571. After much discussion, the courtiers all knelt on the ground. Either way, one of them had to be punished for this. The more they were pressured, the more unhappy they were. The emperor was the same. He pointed at Ning Shu. Didn't this guilty woman already admit that she did it? You guys are making a ruckus. Why are you interfering in other people's family matters? Courtiers. Ning Shu prostrated on the ground. Emperor, you're right. With a flick of his sleeve, waves of fiery energy flowed from the ground to the emperor's shoes and pants. Then punish the guilty woman, Pan Wenlun. Emperor, you're on fire. The eunuch's sharp voice interrupted the emperor. Help! The emperor looked down and saw that his pants and clothes were on fire. He hurriedly patted them with his hands. Emperor, Emperor! The courtiers were also shocked. There was a fire for no reason. At this time, they couldn't care less about the etiquette and rushed to help the emperor put out the fire. Father! The princess's legs turned to jelly and she almost fell to the ground. If anything happened to her father, no one could protect her. Lu Hao also rushed to put out the fire. At this time, he had to do something to redeem himself. Although many people came to help put out the fire, it didn't go out. Make way! The eunuch rushed over with a basin of water. Everyone hurriedly made way and poured the water on the emperor. The emperor was drenched. Fortunately, the fire was put out. The eunuch immediately knelt down and apologized. The emperor wiped the water on his face. He didn't blame the eunuch, but he still had some lingering fear. Why was there a fire? The emperor was suspicious. He felt that this was a warning from the heavens. Of course, there were also conspiracy theories. They felt that someone wanted to assassinate him and put something flammable on his clothes. It was the hottest day of the summer, and the friction between the clothes could easily catch fire. The emperor quickly changed his clothes and asked someone to check if there was anything wrong with his clothes. The emperor, who had changed his clothes, sat on the dragon throne again. He felt that the dragon throne was also smeared with something. He sat on it very uncomfortably. The emperor didn't have the mood to deal with this matter. He directly said, "Demote Lu Hao to be the county magistrate of Mountain Stone Town. He can't return to the capital without a summons. His servants and wives will go with him." He was demoted from a power seeker to a small official who was in charge of a town. Moreover, this Mountain Stone Town was a rather chaotic town. The people there were tough and valiant, and their dream in life was to be bandits. There was no way to manage them, but it wasn't worth it to send troops to wipe them out. This was equivalent to directly depriving Lu Hao of his future. He didn't say anything about punishing the princess or Ning Shu. He just threw them far away and told them not to make trouble under his nose. Father! The princess knelt on the ground and begged her father. She, a princess, was actually going to a remote village. How could she bear this? Shut up and stop talking, the emperor said directly. Your Majesty, Ningxu said. What do you want to say now? Don't be ignorant. Please allow this humble girl to divorce Lu Hao. Only the princess is compatible with Lu Hao. When Lu Hao wanted to marry the princess, this humble girl should have stepped down. A mocking expression appeared on the emperor's face. What, seeing that Lu Hao is no longer a fourth-rank official, you want to abandon him? Ningxu's expression didn't change as she said, even if Lu Hao is no longer a fourth-rank official, even if he's just a county official, he's still an official. If this humble girl follows Lu Hao, she's still the wife of an official. After this humble girl divorces, she's just a divorced girl. I'm not young anymore, and I'm still the daughter of a merchant. How can such a status be compatible with the wife of an official? Ningxu's meaning was that if she could be the wife of an official, why would she be an abandoned woman who was laughed at by others? The vanity you spoke of didn't exist at all. Don't even think about putting this hat on her head. Lu Hao still hadn't recovered from the blow of being demoted. Now, this wife who had been with him for 10 years actually wanted to divorce him. Then what he had done before was just a joke. It was as if he had forced her to confess, and in the end, she wanted to divorce him. Damn it. As long as this emperor was on the throne, he wouldn't be promoted. He didn't know if the next emperor would remember him. Most likely he wouldn't. He was back to before he was liberated. Moreover, it was a place where it wasn't easy to achieve merits. Not to mention merits, fighting wits and bravery with these unruly people every day was tiring. Even the safety of their lives couldn't be guaranteed. Lu Hao and the princess's faces were ashen. The emperor didn't want to care at all. Then I grant you a divorce from Lu Hao. Thank you, Your Majesty. This matter was considered over just like that. After court ended, Ningxu left the palace. When she arrived at the shop, the client's father had already entered the capital. Seeing Ningxu, he kept saying, "It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back." Ningxu's tears couldn't help but flow out. This was the reaction of this body. She wiped her tears and said, "Father, I've divorced Lu Hao." "It's fine if you've divorced. Father will take care of you. If I knew Lu Hao was this kind of bastard, I wouldn't have married you to him. Let's not talk about this." "Miss, you're back." Xiao Cui also cried. The more Minister Pan thought about it, the angrier he got. Logically speaking, the Pan family didn't mistreat Lu Hao. Moreover, Lu Hao became rich, but they didn't get any benefits from him. They also didn't use his power to flaunt everywhere. How could he treat his daughter like this? Minister Pan heard about this from Xiao Cui. Every time he thought about Lu Hao, he felt like he was going to explode. There's no need to go. Since there's nothing between them, there's no need to be entangled. Just wait for the system to leave the body. Lu Hao would no longer exist. The husband that the princess fought over would be gone. Lu Hao sorrowfully packed his things and went to work. He might not be able to come back in this lifetime. He would never be able to come back. The group of women in the backyard were all stunned. What? The old master was demoted to a small official. Moreover, he was going to a remote place. What should they do? Some people who loved their daughters found an excuse to bring their daughters home. They didn't want to go to a remote place to suffer. Although they would be criticized behind their backs, it was better than suffering. There were also some women who were willing to follow Lu Hao. At the very least, they were the wives of officials. Lu Hao was under a lot of pressure recently. He didn't complete the system's mission and jumped a level. In the end, he became a small official, far away from power. The chances of him climbing back up in this lifetime were very small. He was so angry. He felt like he had been cheated. Lu Hao felt that since things had already reached this point, he couldn't change anything. He might as well change his method. When he reached Mountain Stone Town, he would use the money given by the system and the money he earned from these years to start a rebellion. This way, he would be able to become an official faster. Moreover, when he became the emperor, he would be the boss. Why would he need to suck up to his father-in-law? /BK, you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.